Speed welcomes you to Daytona International Speedway for NASCAR Sprint Cup Series practice. 2 rounds of practice to prepare for tomorrow's Budweiser duel that you will see live on Speed. Kevin Harvick, Saturday night winner of the Sprint Unlimited. Tony Stewart headed for his garage. Jeff Gordon's car still on jack stands. And pole sitter Danica Patrick's machine on the scales, but at the ready. It is a beautiful day in Daytona. The cold temperatures and the clouds gone. Chamber of Commerce weather. Mid-60s right now. We'll probably hit 70 before things ease back. And shortly, we'll have cars on track. And most of those cars that are lined up for practice, Larry, have one thing in common.
They want to get out there and draft, because we rolled in here 6 days ago and we had 19 drivers that got a taste of drafting in the Sprint Unlimited race Saturday night. Different race car than the Daytona 500 car. And then a lot of drivers that I see in line, like Brad Keselowski, Clint Boyer, all they've done for the last 6 days is single car runs. So they need to get out there and find out what they've got, especially getting ready for the Budweiser duels tomorrow.
Darrell, the evolution of this new Generation 6 race car, these new Fords, Chevys, and Toyotas, is now in the hands of the drivers. The designers have done their job. The fabricators and the teams have built these cars. The mechanics have tuned on them. But it seems like the drivers are still learning a lot about how these cars race and perform, especially in the draft.
Yeah, they're so different. The aero package on these cars is hugely different than the car they had last year. If you just look at the rear spoiler alone, it's about half the size of what we had last year. This car's a little looser in the back end. It moves around a little bit more than what we've had in the past. But here's the curveball. The weather, most of the time we've been down here, has been ideal. Fairly cool. The track has a lot of grip. Today and tomorrow and probably Sunday, we're going to see this track in a lot different condition than what we've seen it in the last few days.
Probably 20 to 25 degrees warmer already than what that race was Saturday night, which is a bunch.
And that makes the cars just slip and slide around a little bit more. It makes them a little harder to drive. And I don't think these guys were really wanting these things to be any harder to drive, because we've seen a lot of action, and every time we've had cars on the track, we've seen calamity a number of times. But observation. I look at the cars, and I've watched Matt Kenseth, and I watched Tony Stewart, and I watched the best drivers in this sport cut down in front of people when they normally wouldn't do that. And we have a spotter. We know that. He's kind of the co-pilot. But the left side of this car, it's got a little window net that's up there where your wing glass goes. And it's also got a real tight window net for the driver. The driver's left side mirror, I think, is a little harder for these drivers to see out of. I think that's one of the reasons why we're seeing them make some moves that we wouldn't normally see. I'm not sure they are comfortable with where the mirrors are on the left side of the car.
Good point. 6 cars are on track right now, and 4 of the 6, to Larry's point, did not get to race in Saturday night's Sprint Unlimited. And there are an additional 8 cars lined up on pit road waiting their turn to go out and do a little drafting practice. Where are the cars that will start on the Daytona 500 front row? Well, let's begin that story with Matt Yoakum.
Mike, Danica Patrick and the 10 team had a game plan going into Daytona 2013, and it started with testing. Only single car runs proved successful when they scored the pole. The agenda today is very simple. Get Danica comfortable with this new Chevrolet in the draft. But first, the team had to work diligently all morning long, because they lost a lot of time on Sunday due to the car being used in media shoots after winning the pole, and then you have post-qualifying inspection. So Tony Gibson and the guys working diligently, swapping the car over to the race setup, different parts and pieces. The goal now, get her out for a few laps near the end of this session to make sure everything is tight and not leaking, and then utilize the second practice session to go ahead and get her drafting experience with some packs of cars. But Chris Devoda, I hate to tell all these camera guys just to the left of her race car that she's going to be a while, so they're going to be waiting for quite some time. Krista?
Well, Matt, that garage stall is certainly a popular place to be. You know, the only other person who knows where he will start in Sunday's Daytona 500 is Jeff Gordon. That means the pressure is off, right? Oh, not so fast. Jeff told me, if anything, in some ways, it stresses you out more. You see Jeff just arriving to the car. As Mike pointed out at the start of this practice, the car's still on jack stands, and that's where it remains. Now, they are planning on practicing in this session, but not going out right away. They want things to just settle down. Jeff says the stress comes to the fact that you now have to take care of your car, both in tomorrow's duel and in this practice.
Thanks, Krista. I think the settling down is already going on, Daryl, and it is self-imposed. We're seeing small packs of cars out there working the wind.
Yeah, let me tell you, if you mess up in practice now, at this point, not only is the guy you run over going to be after you, your whole team's going to be after you. This is a time when you got to use your head. The most important thing these guys have got to do is get through this practice session without tearing up anything.
I think about Danica Patrick and Jeff Gordon. Not only are they locked in right now on the pole for the Budweiser duels, they're locked in for the front row. I go back 2 years ago, Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the pole for the Daytona 500 and the Budweiser duel. He crashed in Wednesday's practice because of the way the rules work. When you're on the front row, you have to go to the rear of the field for both the Budweiser duel and the Daytona 500.
The last thing you want to do is miss the dance. And if she has trouble, or any of these guys have trouble, particularly Danica, I mean, she wants to be here Sunday, February the 24th, live on Fox. She wants to be sure that 10 car is leading the field to the green. That green car coming to get the green from the pole.
Trying to get the long green that awaits the winner.
See Joey Logano there in the 22 car. He joined Rick Allen and Phil Parsons last night in the Battle of the Beach during the K&N East race. I talked to Joey before that show, finished third in the Sprint Unlimited. He said, Larry, I promise you, this car right here for the Daytona 500 is a much faster and better driving race car than what I had in the Sprint Unlimited.
Well, that makes sense. Normally, Larry, you know that. We're not going to run our best piece in the Unlimited. We're going to run a good car. And we're going to have a car that we think is okay, but we're going to save the absolute primo car for the big show.
Well, a word about Monday and Tuesday night. The University of Northwestern Ohio Battle at the Beach was supposed to showcase NASCAR's local and touring drivers in late models, modifieds, and K&N cars. And in 2 straight nights of racing, race leaders either broke, Todd Szegedy, or got spun out of the lead everybody else. This morning I said, with that modified finish, I've never seen the third place car take out the leader from third until last night. And Jeff Hammond says, oh no, we did it. And Daryl will tell you how when we come back. You're watching Sprint Cup practice live on Speed.
Let's take every drop of courage, every ounce of inspiration, every bit of determination, and go where we've never gone before. Introducing the radically new Toyota Avalon. Toyota, let's go places.
For more than 60 years, Wrangler's been making jeans more comfortable. Wrangler jeans give you comfort where you want it. They don't cut and bind like most jeans. U-shape. It fits around you. It gives you more room where you need it. Wrangler. Real, comfortable jeans.
Golden Corral just passed America's Family Budget Act. Right now, kids eat for just $2.99 Monday through Thursday. It's all your endless Golden Corral favorites, including our new sirloin filet and our non-stop butterfly shrimp. The $2.99 Kids Dinner Special, only at Golden Corral.
I hate that cable only lets us record 2 shows at once.
Me too. Cable's worse than...
Not being able to record all our shows at once is more annoying than...
We need to upgrade to DirecTV and get the new Genie. She lets you record 5 shows at once.
I want DirecTV more than...
Record 5 shows at once with the new DirecTV Genie. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
That's nice. Hello there.
presentation of NASCAR Sprint Cup practice from Daytona is presented by Toyota. Let's go places. And brought to you by Sprint. Millions of fans, one family. Only Sprint can feed them all. Join the family at sprint.com/speed. And by Sonic. The all-new foot-long lineup from Sonic is here. Get one with tots for $3.99. Kyle Busch quickest in the opening 10 minutes, 11 minutes of practice. He and Denny Hamlin, the Joe Gibbs Toyota teammates, quickest. Then the Roush Fenway Fords of Greg Biffle and Carl Edwards. The Toyota of Mark Martin, the Chevy of Jamie McMurray. Labonte, Montoya, Ambrose, and Keselowski, the 10 fastest. So not to dwell on this for long, but tell me about Martinsville.
Well, now, first of all, it was a total accident. I mean, it was, I wasn't even trying to win the race. I was just trying to pass Terry Labonte for second.
But you were third.
And I was third, and Dale ran Terry in the wall coming off turn 2, and it kind of broke the momentum. I was a distant third. But when I come off of 2, I had a head of steam, so I'm going down the back. I get a run on Terry. I stick a nose a little bit up under him, clipped him just slightly, and out of that, he shot into Dale, spun himself and Dale out, and I just casually drove by.
You were the beneficiary.
But I wasn't even trying to win the race.
That's kind of what Eric Goodale last night. Steve Park was against the back bumper of Mike Stefanik for the win. And Eric Goodale, in Park's words, pile drove him into Stefanik. Nobody was happy except Park, who ended up the winner.
You know, Larry, one thing I'm noticing is those 2 Gibbs Toyotas and probably the 20 as well. We know he's pretty fast. I believe we talk about Hendrick Motorsports and the power they've got under the hood, but those 3 Toyotas are pretty strong as well. And like always, we kind of count the Fords out, seem like, over and over again, but there's Biffle and Carl Edwards right up in the thick of things with the 3rd and 4th best times.
There is your outside pole sitter for the Daytona 500. Jeff Gordon is atop the hauler watching this practice session unfold. 7 cars drafting in a pack.
And Mike, the reason I mention that is that's all 3, you know, it's the Chevys, Fords, and the Toyotas. I think NASCAR, people have said, you know, about the rules and the bodies, and they're different, and everybody's this and everybody's that. I don't see anybody having a real big advantage right now.
Brad Keselowski here in the 2 car, now he ran a total of 11 laps. I don't know why he is so slow on the apron coming around, though.
Well, he could be
not running, is it?
Could be doing a fuel check. You know, he could have run it out of gas.
No,
it's running right now.
He's not waiting for these guys.
Is that the engine or those fans, Larry? It's hard to tell.
It almost sounds like the engine running, but it is doing nothing more than idling if it is. Again, he ran 11 laps. He was one of the first drivers to hit the track when it opened for practice.
Oh, I think he's coasting in dead stick. He may make it to pit road.
In single car runs, this car didn't have near the speed that his teammate Joey Logano, who qualified 23rd.
Now here's Brad coming to start finish 1 lap ago.
Well, it's a little late in the game to be doing a coast down test.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure Matt or Krista will find out, but Darrell, I do maybe think about what you said. Let's listen to what he said on the radio.
A group of cars getting into 1 right now. Blew up or something happened here.
Oh boy.
Not sure what.
That pretty much tells the tale right there.
Am I leaking oil or anything, Joe?
Krista?
Mike, the other thing I heard Brad say on the radio, he asked his crew if they saw smoke. The crew was quiet on the radio for a while, and they said no smoke. The crew then kind of ran out to assess the issue. So we'll give you more as they continue to roll. They're rolling the 2 back into the garage right now.
Keselowski scheduled to start 12th in the first Budweiser duel tomorrow.
And remember, they made the change to Ford during the offseason, but they have went with the Roush Yates engine package. But Darrell, you were talking about these Joe Gibbs drivers. We see 2 of them here, Kyle Busch in the 18, Denny Hamlin in the 11. We know they've got good speed. They all qualify in the top 10. Go back to the January test. You and I were down here. A lot of speed in the draft. And I go back to the unlimited race the other night. Matt Kenseth.
Trouble. Here we go. Newman's around off the front bumper of Edwards. Mark Martin gets away.
I think Mark may have survived that one. Thank goodness, because that's his third car. Newman looks like he's all right. Got a little damage.
And that was with just 5 cars in that drafting group. And we see a good bit of sheet metal damage.
And that's
to
one
Ryan Newman's Chevrolet.
That's one of our front, one of our fast qualifiers right there.
Yeah, he qualified 4th.
Starts outside pole in the second race.
Darrell, you talked earlier about drivers coming down. Now there's Newman on the outside of Carl Edwards.
Yeah, it just something's not lining up for me. Every time I've seen an accident, although 3 times now I've seen an accident, the driver almost on the outside acts as if he doesn't know the driver on the inside is there.
Well, it's what happened on Friday with Matt Kenseth.
Right.
It's what happened in the Sprint Unlimited with Tony Stewart.
Right, there's something not lining up here for me. I mean, right there, you're right on the verge of being clear, but yeah, that was maybe both guys had a little bit of something to do with that one. Looked like Carl's car may have shoved up a tad, and looked like Ryan was maybe coming down a tad, and they kind of come together.
Look at the roof flap, how quick they deployed, and that right there set that car back down. And the roof flaps are much bigger this year than
like
what they've been.
Whole roof comes up when they come over.
And even the flaps at the back of the hood, which are the old cow flaps, all those flaps are deploying much sooner than they did on the old car.
Well,
Darrell, I agree with you. On second look, it looks like Edwards comes up a little
bit
Newman
right
comes
there.
down a little.
Yeah, just a little bit. As he entered corner with Newman on the outside, looked like Carl's car shoved up a tad and made that slight contact.
Mark Martin narrowly avoiding that one as Ryan Newman and Carl Edwards get together in Sprint Cup practice.
Yeah.
Millions of fans, one family. It takes truly unlimited data to feed a family this large.
Start with a groundbreaking car. Good. Then invent an entirely new way to buy one. No, no, no. Yes, a website that works like a wedding registry, but for a car. First, you customize it. Then let people sponsor the car's parts as gifts. Dad sponsors the engine for your birthday. Grandma sponsors the rims for graduation. The car gets funded. Then you pick up your new Dodge Dart at the dealership, and all that's left to do is say thanks. Easy.
Stupid, slow, dirty PC.
You know, you really should clean it up and speed it up at mycleanpc.com.
Is your computer running slow? What if you could fix it while you were online? Now you can. Just go to mycleanpc.com for your free diagnosis today. Then just activate the mycleanpc.com software to fix it in minutes. And computer specialists are available while you're online. Get rid of pop-ups and junk files. Boost your PC startup time. Even prevent annoying errors, screen freezes, and crashes.
The best thing about mycleanpc.com was it had a free diagnosis.
You know immediately what the problem is, and the problem is solved right then and there.
My computer is 100% faster. My Clean PC works.
Download your free diagnosis today at mycleanpc.com. That's mycleanpc.com.
Any questions?
I take it for a test drive.
You ever driven one of these things?
Carl Edwards and Ryan Newman talk it over. Newman's car came down a little bit. Edwards' car washed up a little bit. But what a week it's been. Have we had an on-track session without some kind of calamity?
I was asking Larry that. I don't remember one. If there was, it's been only one. We've had something. This was in testing. That's Dale Jr. getting in the back of Mark Ambrose right there, and that created that big mess in testing. That was in practice on Friday.
And Matt Kenseth down into Kurt Busch. And then in the Sprint Unlimited, Tony Stewart comes down track and cars behind him pile up.
And let's watch this, what happened here real closely, Mike. Watch the 99 car. We get to the corner, and it just looks like something happened right there with both cars. The 99 was getting up the hill a little bit, and the 39, Larry, you think he was a little
Looked
loose?
like he was a little on the free side when he turned that thing down into turn 1.
I'd say that the 99 and the 39, they each caused their problem.
Yes, but without Ryan driving down into Carl or Carl driving up into Ryan. But I've heard drivers say this week, Darrell, that when a car passes on the outside, there is a point of overlap where you don't have enough air on the nose of that inside car, and it washes up. And it looked to me like that's what happened to Carl.
It just is this thing we keep talking about, this process we're going through. It's trying to figure out what this car is going to do in all kinds of scenarios. Somebody push me, somebody behind me, when I'm in front of somebody, you know, what is this car going to do? I think these drivers are pretty confused about what this car does when it's in traffic.
What I did see in the garage area, the brain thrust there, Ryan Newman, his crew chief Matt Borland. I saw Norman Negree there, fabricator Greg Zippadelli, trying to make the decision. Do we want to try to go to backup? Do we want to repair this? But Jimmy Johnson, his agenda has not changed as far as practice. He's out there making single car runs. He's not only done that this year and during the test, we've seen this the last 2 years as far as practice at Daytona with his 48 team.
Ryan Newman is one of Danica's teammates. And that was as a limited number of cars in a small little pack right there, and her teammate has a wrecked car. I hope that she got the message. She needs to get on the Jimmy Johnson agenda. Mark is saying, I cannot believe I missed a wreck.
If I was Mark, I believe I'd be headed to the hauler to take that uniform off. He's been involved in several crashes and had some really close calls on top of it as well.
Well, the question for Newman is a difficult one because he was the 4th fastest qualifier. He is scheduled to start second in the second Budweiser duel tomorrow. You don't want to give that spot up and go back to 22nd in the starting lineup because remember, no more top 35 rule. Newman would be guaranteed in the Daytona 500 based on his qualifying speed, but that would put him way at the back of the pack.
Yeah, I think the big thing they'll have to evaluate, Mike, is the frame, the tail section, part of that car tweaked over. You know, the tolerances that NASCAR gives, and you know, they don't accept the fact that you've been involved in a wreck. You still have to meet all the specifications when you go through inspection tomorrow.
The question is, are you handicapping yourself any way, small, whatever, by fixing that car? He's not locked in to the 500. He's not locked into he is to the 500, but he's not locked into the front row. I think if it were me and there was much damage, that thing came down off the track, went through the dirt, I'd be looking at my backup.
All right, let's find out what happened. Matt Yoakum with Ryan Newman.
39 car back in the garage. And Ryan, you lived through it once, but walk us through what happened.
I don't know. I want to watch first because, yeah. My car came around, and I don't know if it was the air off of Carl's car or what, but my car just came around.
Here's another angle.
You can see the back end getting light there.
So more his car.
No. I think it was just an aero situation, but that was news to me. Carl came over and said, "Hey, man, I said I don't even know what to tell you yet." So it was unfortunate for our Quicken Loans Chevrolet, but that's why we had practice, and that was my first experience. But I guess my car just got light in the back going in the corner.
3 sides of the car wounded. How bad is it?
I think it's totally fixable. It's just a matter of time and getting practice and everything else. So Matt and the guys are assessing the situation.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. And right next door, guys, the 55 car, Mark Martin, and the left front corner of his car, cosmetic damage as well. They're going to back that car out and take it over to the hauler and start doing some repair work on that car.
Thanks, Matt. Now, Brad Keselowski coasted into the garage with engine difficulty. The car was not running when it came in. It came past start finish. He shut it off. He said something blew up.
Well, what an eventful practice.
But did you hear the surprise in Ryan Newman's voice when he saw what happened?
Yeah. Probably, if I were driving his car and I were him, I'd be hoping that car will hit me. but in all honesty, the car just got, we couldn't really tell it from the first looks or two that we had, but his car definitely stepped out on him.
But Darrell, he was one of the drivers. He was not in the Sprint Unlimited, but I think you talked about it at the top of the show, how slick this racetrack is getting, how much grip it's losing.
I think that some of these guys are going to be surprised by, Larry. I think it's going to be a big wake-up call in these two practices.
And these cars in every session have been faster than the cars that were raced here last year. So Carl Edwards, Ryan Newman, Mark Martin in the garage after this dust-up in today's Sprint Cup practice.
Thursday, NASCAR's biggest stars return to the World Center of Racing, where the fight to make the 500 is on. The Budweiser Duel at Daytona, Thursday, live at 2 Eastern, only on Speed.
This is a real pivot point for NASCAR. We have to get back to the cars looking like production cars. For us, in the year of launching the Fusion, to put it on the track and race against the best in the world at Daytona, that's what it's all about. This is a real special season, a special race, especially for Ford.
This is their story. Fusion Evolution. Stock returns to racing. February 24th, 12:30 p.m. Eastern on Speed.
While everyone else seems headed in the wrong direction, Ford is not just going forward, it's going further. Introducing the entirely new Ford Fusion, the most fuel-efficient mid-size hybrid sedan in America. It's an entirely new idea of what a car can be.
When it comes to your classic, it's hard to put a price on love. At Hagerty, we work with you to set a guaranteed value for your car. Then we pay you that much if it's totaled, guaranteed. Hagerty, we may sell insurance, but we live classics.
You might just want to trade that one in.
The Spring Fishing Classic starts this weekend at Bass Pro Shops. During our reel trade-in sale, save up to $100 more on a new reel when you trade one in.
And look who's fastest in practice. Two-time Daytona 500 winner, Michael Waltrip, in the text Newtown to 80888 Toyota. Well, let's get the other side of what happened from Matt.
Mike, Carl Edwards has been busy looking over different replays from that incident. And Carl, are we seeing something new with this Gen 6 machine?
Yeah, if you watch this, I was underneath Ryan there thinking I was going to side draft him a little bit, and then all of a sudden, his car just turned sideways. And I don't know if it's a function of the 18 car that was a little bit behind him, but this to me is something new with these cars. And maybe I just haven't been in that particular spot with the old cars, but I did not expect Ryan's car to turn sideways because of me being under him like that. So definitely something that we're taking note of. I'm glad we didn't tear up the car any worse. Everybody did such a good job of getting on the brakes right here. I was staring at Ryan in the window right there like, oh, don't flip, man, don't flip. And I think all of us just kind of trying to understand exactly what made that wreck happen. Pretty crazy.
You know, going back to preseason Thunder, the testing here in Daytona during January, some guys said the car was very loose, almost wanting to maybe have a little bit more spoiler on the back.
No, do not put more spoiler on the back. Race cars are supposed to be hard to drive. It's supposed to be on the edge. You're supposed to be sliding around. We as drivers, it's our responsibility to learn how to drive them. And if this weather stays like this and we can run cars sideways down the corners and give each other a little bit of room, it's going to be an awesome 500.
And Mike, I like that theory. It's kind of like Ken Squire always said, common men doing uncommon things behind the wheel of a race car.
Absolutely.
Well, you have to have a little reasoning, not making them too hard. You don't want them so hard to drive that you can't race each other. You don't want them so that every time you get around somebody, you're going to spin out. So there has to be a balance between not enough and too much.
Yeah, I don't think the smaller spoiler, Darrell, I mean, you can certainly relate to this more than I'm not a driver. It's not about making them harder to drive or easier to drive. It's just making them more secure when you're in that situation like they were in.
We want to have a good race. And if in fact I mean, I don't think this is being considered, but if in fact adding an inch of spoiler would help us have a better Daytona 500, I believe everybody would raise their hand and say, I'm all for that.
Now, before the incident between Edwards and Newman, we were wondering what happened to Brad Keselowski's car. Krista has the answer.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, we're down on the other end of the garage with the champ, Brad Keselowski. So we heard you talking on the radio. The car was rolled in. You went, looked under the hood, talked with the engineers. What happened?
Just something wrong with the fuel system in the car, and it just quit running. So that's not what you want when you're in front of the pack, because you know, when your car slows down, they've got nowhere to go, and it can cause a wreck. So we spent a little extra time here and make sure we got whatever it is figured out.
So this is something you don't need to change the engine right now, then? You can fix this problem?
It looks that way, but I'll let them get that all diagnosed. It's like, they're the car doctors. Let the car doctors do their work and come back to me, and I'll just go out there and drive it.
Have they given you a time frame about how long you'll be back out there?
Yeah, I would say, from what I can tell, about a half hour.
Okay. Thanks, Brad.
Right, thank you.
Larry, this is not unprecedented for the Penske team. In the first few months of electronic fuel injection and electronic engine management, which requires a much higher fuel pressure and new equipment to deliver the fuel to the engine, the Penske team spent several months testing, trying to work out the bugs.
Yeah, they had a lot of issues. I think it was Las Vegas, the third race of the year, and they were not having problems with electronic fuel injection. It was the components. I see them working in the back of the car. That's where the lift pumps and the fuel cell are. That's where the electric fuel pump. Yeah, they had a lot of issues with that the first third of the season. Thought it had went away, but it looks like it's kind of reared its head here in practice, at least at Daytona.
Well, I used to tell Hammond when we were in pretty good shape, he said, what do you think we ought to do? I said, work on the fuel cell. So it's not a bad place to be.
That was more to do with capacity.
That was a different time.
Well, hey,
yes.
How many races are won on fuel mileage?
Oh, I know one Daytona 500 at least.
I'm just talking about recently.
Oh, I was thinking 1989.
Well, I know what you were thinking. You're thinking Martinsville in 1989, but I'm thinking recently.
Right. Jimmy Johnson and Clint Boyer talking it over. Matt?
Mike, an update on the 55 of Mark Martin, and the 55 team is working on this machine as we speak, trying to fix all the cosmetic damage, the door, the left front corner, and also around the front bumper portion of the race car. I talked to Rodney Childers, and he told me basically they are done at this juncture for the day. They believe the repairs are going to take them the rest of the day to get this 55 machine back ready for Mark Martin in the duel. And one interesting thing, when the team goes into a crash situation like this, you really see how teams are organized, and every team in the garage area very similar. And if my cameraman Dave Stolen can pan to his right, you can see they all have crash carts. Quarter panels, fenders, bumper covers, you name it. They have all these parts and pieces all lined up, windshields, you name it, just in case they get into a crash situation like this, so they can quickly get this car repaired and back out onto the racetrack. I feel like Hammond should be hiding in here somewhere, Mike.
Thanks, Matt. It didn't look like he hit Carl Edwards that hard to do that.
It didn't look like he hit him at all, but it did a lot of damage.
But you talk about camaraderie. I even saw Jimmy Maycar from Joe Gibbs Racing, another Toyota organization over there, I guess, saying, hey, you guys need anything at all.
The Asphalt Gladiators return to racing's biggest arena for a full-throttle fight to the finish.
Hard into the wall!
The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series from Daytona, Friday at 7 Eastern, live on Speed.
Let's go places. Not just the ones you can find on a map, but the ones you can find in your heart. Because inspiration doesn't favor those who sit still. It dances with the daring and rewards the courageous with ideas. Ideas that inspire. Ideas that take you places you never imagined. Ideas big enough to make the heart skip a beat. And in some cases, maybe two. Toyota, let's go places.
For over 75 years, people have saved money with Geico. Sorry.
Here we go, from the top, and action.
For over 75 years, people have saved money with Gecko.
Cut it.
What did I say? Gecko. I said Gecko. Oh. For over 75 years...
Keep it together.
I'm good. For over 70... What are you doing there? Stop making me laugh.
Geico, saving people money for over 75 years.
Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
The prophecy said that a wizard will descend from the heavens and save us all. It belongs to you, but only after you defeat the Wicked Witch.
So that's the prophecy.
You're capable of more than you know.
need everyone to believe.
Rated PG. In theaters and IMAX 3D.
Tomorrow, before the green flag waves on the Budweiser Duel, a special edition of NASCAR Race Day fueled by Sunoco. To get you ready to set the field for the Daytona 500, tune in tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Speed. Martin Truex Jr. has 19 laps in this practice session. Tony Stewart and Casey Mears, 17 each. David Reagan, Joey Logano, Ricky Stenhouse have run 15 laps.
You know, Daryl, help me with this one, because I think week in and week out we talk about drivers making a long run to burn the fuel load off, to get some laps on the tires. A fuel run here is about 40 to 44 laps. Talk about the handling of the car going away. Yeah, the grip of the tires will go away here, but when you've got that little bitty spoiler on the back and soft rear springs, as you burn that fuel load off, the rear of the car comes up, actually could make the car drive a little better, getting that spoiler up in the air some more.
Yeah, that's the balance that you fight. You know, I watch Formula One, IndyCar. They burn off fuel, they go faster, but the fuel's in the middle of the car, and the car gets lighter. And here we've got fuel in the trunk. And so when the fuel burns off, the back of the car comes up, the back of the car gets lighter, the nose gets heavier, the nose sticks, the back doesn't. Makes it hard to drive.
Let's check with Krista.
Well, Clint Boyer is not just done with this practice. He says he's done for the day. Just too much wrecking out there, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, you're in such a tight window down here. Your best bullet is that one right there. You got to take care of it. It's unfortunate because you really want to go out there and learn a little bit, but right now, unfortunately, the only thing we're learning is we're tearing a lot of cars up for nothing. 500 Toyota seemed like it did what I needed it to do. You can really get runs. You get close to them. You stall out very, very fast. It seems like you're having to do your side drafts and things like that a lot closer than we did in the past. And I think that's what's causing some of the mishaps is, you know, we're having to get so close down on the quarter panel of the cars. It's either pulling them around and, you know, getting them tight, then snaps loose, or you get up underneath of them and it gets loose there. You know, so it's just really not worth the you know, the gain right here. So we're going to learn as much as we can tomorrow in the duels, and then we'll put it to good use in a race. Other than that, that's about all I see.
Well, because of that, you mentioned the side draft issue. I know you didn't get to race in the Sprint Unlimited, but do you feel like there needs to be a little bit more spoiler on these cars? Is that the issue?
Well, you know, there is one, like the left rear is a little bit of a blind spot. I don't know why either. It seems like, you know, it's the same chassis, same mirror you're using. Just when you look at it, you can't get a good view of that left rear. Kind of made me nervous a little bit, having to rely on spotter Brett a little bit more than, you know, when you go up there and you see what they see, you're like, oh my God, I'm trusting this guy that can't see anything. And I'm like, he's calling me within inches of clear to the next guy. So advice to anybody, any driver that's just don't even go up there, because you don't want to know what they see. They can't see much at all.
All right, thanks, Clint. Clint Boyer done for the day.
Daryl, I think he may have answered your question. He talked about the left rear right there being a bit of a blind spot.
Yeah, and I just see that happening over and over again, and I know how good these guys are, and you know how good those spotters are, and I've just seen guys make moves that make me think, what the heck, couldn't he see that guy there? Apparently he can't.
Yes.
So where's the winner of the 500 from 2 years ago? Trevor Bayne is standing atop his hauler. The Wood Brothers hauler watching practice. He took a picture of his view from there and tweeted, "This is what practice looks like for me so far. That last crash isn't helping me convince," his crew chief, Wingo, to let me go out.
Well, qualified third. He's going to start on the outside of the front row of the first Budweiser Duel alongside Danica Patrick. And again, I know for a fact the Wood Brothers, yeah, they've got a backup car, but their number one bullet is that car they qualified third with. They want to have it on Sunday.
Yeah, Larry, and so who do you go out there with? I mean, there's Danica. She didn't have her uniform on. And so who do you go out there with? We've seen our best drivers have the most trouble. And I think it's because they're so accustomed to doing things in the past that I keep saying they got to unlearn some of these things we've done in the past and rethink how they drive this car.
Think of it in terms of street cars, and let's say you've had a Chevrolet for the last 5 years and suddenly you buy a new Ford or a new Toyota and you reach for where the light switch has always been and it's not there. Or you pull into a parking space and you know how much room you've got, but the new car is a little bit longer, either in front of the front wheels or behind the rear wheels. there is a learning curve.
Well, I think
and it's a big one here because the speeds are 3 times what anybody drives down the highway.
Maybe even a little bit, or another example is mirrors on cars. When you get in one car, the mirror's nice and big, and you got a clear view out to, you know, both sides of the car. You get in another car, say, man, these mirrors are so small. There's a blind spot over there. I didn't even see that guy when I changed lanes.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. is out for practice. Is there a scenario that could cause him to miss the 500? We'll explore that when we come back.
You think your little Euro trash ride can beat my American muscle? Bring it on.
Are you faster than a redneck? Catch a special preview after the trucks race. Friday, only on Speed.
What makes a ZL1? Splitter, the extractor, the larger front stab bar, 6-piston Brembos, Gen 3 magnetic shocks so the suspension could do its job. All of this hardware is about making the car continue to go into a corner hard lap after lap.
It's a mystery what goes on in the whole car buying process. Using TrueCar.com, you're able to see what a lot of other people had paid for the same car.
The TrueCar dealer was wonderful to go to because they didn't pressure us. We got in and we got out with a car that we both loved.
Yeah, the whole process was just really straightforward.
We ended up saving $3 grand off sticker price.
At TrueCar.com, just configure the car you want, print your savings certificate, and take it to a certified dealer. Guaranteed savings, a hassle-free experience. Visit TrueCar.com.
Hey, what's up? I'm Bella Flores.
What up? This is Vinny Guadagnino.
I'm Nick Cannon.
Hi, I'm Aziz Ansari. That was your line.
You can help by joining DoSomething.org.
DoSomething.org.
That's why I'm teaming up with DoSomething.org.
42 minutes into this practice session, let's take a look at the Toyota track description of Daytona International Speedway. Built in 1959. Equal length to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but with the 31-degree bankings in the corners and the unique, what was then unique, tri-oval arrangement in the front straightaway, it's a whole different racetrack. So here is the perfect storm by which Dale Earnhardt Jr. could miss the Daytona 500. Danica Patrick and Jeff Gordon are on the front row. The next 4 fastest speeds are locked in. If none of those 4 drivers race their way in on Thursday, they will take 4 spots. Behind them are the 6 car owner provisional positions at the back of the field. If none of these drivers race their way in, they would take those positions. The final spot in the field is reserved for a past champion. Kurt Busch is the most recent one, but he's not going to need that. The question would be if Terry Labonte needs the past champions provisional from out of race 2, and if Dale Earnhardt Jr. finishes last in his Budweiser duel, car 88 misses the Daytona 500. Now the chances of all those things happening are about the same as the chance of a meteor coming and hitting. Never mind.
Never mind.
Well, let me tell you what the chance, just as you finished that, you just blew up my Twitter account. I can tell you that.
It is possible.
Yes.
It's not going to happen.
I agree.
Here's Krista with today's Toyota news update.
Thank you, Mike. In the garage with Toyota driver Michael Waltrip, who talked about a slight vibration on the radio. What's going on with your race car?
It's just small, but it's aggravating, and the team's checking it out. The car's got a lot of speed. I'm happy with it. I just wanted to make sure it would keep up if I got a little bit behind, so I'd have that information for tomorrow. And got side by side a couple times, but not much. Drove kind of like very conservatively, and we're going to make a couple of changes and make one more run.
Now, you mentioned driving conservatively. That's hard to say. Is that hard to do out there, knowing that what we saw with Ryan Newman, with Carl Edwards? Are you taking a chance being out there at all, or there's just too much to learn, you have to be out there?
We have to be out there. We have to understand exactly what our car does, and we've tightened it up just a little bit. It seemed like it was fine, but Tony Jr. and I have worked together before, and he said, if you can hear the back end, tell me. And I said, I hear it talking to me a little bit. He said, I'll try to snug it up. And Strimmy made a really good call. He said, come to pit road, make sure you understand that. That didn't go well last year, by the way. And we made a run through that. So when you don't race these things all the time, there's just a few checkpoints you need to hit. And mainly, I think we hit them all in that first run, and I'm happy.
And for viewers who may be just joining us this week, weren't here last week, you're driving right now for David Stremmy's team, and you're racing for a reason for Newtown, Connecticut.
Yeah, it's really a special cause. Newtown, Connecticut's been through so much, the tragic events of December 14th. And we went up to the town a couple weeks ago and showed them this car and said, we're going to race the Newtown to 80888 Toyota in the Daytona 500. And talked to the mayor of that town, and she said, literally, people that she hadn't seen smile in months smiled when they saw this car. So not only are we going to raise a lot of money for the cause, for rebuilding them mentally and physically, helping them through these tough times, but we're also going to make people smile on Sunday. That's a great feeling, and I'm really thankful that Brandon and David and all the boys on the team let me drive. And I'm looking forward to raising a lot of money and awareness for Newtown, Connecticut and the kids from Sandy Hook.
All right, thanks, Michael. We're glad Toyota's on board with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Krista.
We played golf yesterday, and the man was on fire. For 9 holes, he shot a 37. We've been playing together years. He was just putting the lights out yesterday, but then I don't want to tell you what he shot on the other 9.
You know, I've been watching Jamie McMurray in this one car, and he is absolutely making a long run. Of course, the winner here in 2010 for the Daytona 500. He's run a total of 24 laps, but just to go and show you how the draft works, he's coming to lap 25. The fastest lap he's run was 3 laps ago, lap 22 of this practice session. Not because his car is getting better, but because that's just the way the draft works. I think they were lined up in a single line, Darrell, catching another pack of cars that were out there in front of them.
Yeah, and just to show you how, I like to brag on my brother, okay? Especially when we're at Daytona and Talladega. But he knows how to run that fast lap. That could win him the Daytona 500. It almost won him the Talladega race in the fall last year. He knows where to get in the right spot to be able to put that fast lap down when it counts.
And Darrell, only being 31st quickest from qualifying, he knows he's going to probably have to race his way in tomorrow on the Budweiser Duel.
Yes, he does.
That's true, because there are no past champions for provisionals for past Daytona 500 winners.
I hate that cable only lets us record 2 shows at once.
Me too. Cable's worse than...
Not being able to record all our shows at once is more annoying than...
We need to upgrade to DirecTV and get the new Genie. She lets you record 5 shows at once.
I want DirecTV more than...
Record 5 shows at once with the new DirecTV Genie. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
Away. Is the smell of salt in the air. It's the sound a seashell makes. Away is a place that's beyond your imagination, yet well within your means. Find your away. For a dealer in the RV that's right for you, visit GoRVing.com.
Love that new car smell.
Tomorrow, NASCAR's biggest stars return to the World Center of Racing for the Budweiser Duel at Daytona. They'll set the field for the Daytona 500 in 2 exciting 150-mile races tomorrow at 2 Eastern, live on Speed.
Uh-oh, let's
back
see what
straight
we got.
away.
Coming, looking good. Coming off 2, headed down the back. Looking good. Roll.
And Darryl,
I don't like the looks of that.
A lot like Jimmy Johnson.
Fire
Yeah,
under
you
there.
see the fire under the left
that baby
front.
I think that baby just.
No, there's no
Blowed up.
question. That's going to be terminal. In fact, the caution is out. A lot like Jimmy Johnson, he's been making single car runs. He's only run 11 laps. Remember, Hendrick had another engine failure last week in the 42 of Juan Pablo Montoya.
Let me tell you, that sets up I mean, the phones will be ringing off the hook.
Yes. And well, let's listen on board to Dale Jr.
Ooh, man, that's a terrible sound.
Broke motor.
Yeah, 10-4, get low. The pack's coming there. Get on the apron if you can.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, I saw the fire come out from under the car there, so that's definitely serious terminal.
But you're right, Darryl. The Hendrick engine group, Jeff Andrews.
All right, just goes to Jason back.
Scotty Maximum, they'll be scrambling because, to my knowledge, they have 10 drivers that has Hendrick engines getting ready for the Daytona 500.
Yeah, 2 of them are on the front row.
You got it.
And if they have to change that engine, Junior will start last in his Budweiser Duel. There's Danica Patrick's car, one of those Hendrick engines, in the car of the pole sitter. Now, in the last segment, we saw Matt Kenseth's car working its way slowly the wrong way up pit road and limped into the garage. What's up, Matt?
Mike, like a few other drivers during this practice session, Matt Kenseth, he was practicing his pit road speed entering off turn 4. He locked up the right front, flat spotted it, got a flat tire, so he gingerly brought the car back up pit road so he didn't have any kind of damage cosmetically to that fender. So they changed it just as he entered into the garage area, and then they wheeled the car into the garage stall.
Thanks, Matt.
And we're talking about engines. These restricted engines are a piece of work, man. They're not like what we run anywhere else. The whole internal package is different.
Now, right now, you see our pole sitter, Danica Patrick's 10 car, going through inspection. You change so many things. They just want to go through there and make sure all the heights and weights. I was asked probably 1,000 times on Twitter and through text messages, what are the white hubcaps that you're seeing right here? And what this is something NASCAR started using last year. It's just to help them with the inspection process of things like camber and tread width. It's just more of a true reading off those hubcaps that go kind of inside the wheels.
They look kind of old school.
They do.
Yeah.
I like them. Like a dirt car.
Looks like the track surface, yep, thumbs up, is okay. We'll resume practice shortly.
It's the most anticipated Daytona 500 ever. Get on the inside track with the experts who have lived it.
When you win the Daytona 500, it stays with you the rest of your life.
NASCAR Race Day fueled by Sunoco. Sunday at 9 Eastern. Live on Speed.
Let's take every drop of courage, every ounce of inspiration, every bit of determination, and go where we've never gone before. Introducing the radically new Toyota Avalon. Toyota, let's go places.
Welcome to Cook It Safe Challenge, where teams compete to make the right decision about safe food preparation. Our challenge in this round, oven or microwave. To win, teams must use the proper steps for safe meal preparation, read and follow package cooking instructions, and know when to use the conventional oven or the microwave. You're on the clock, so make your decisions quickly, but be warned, make the wrong choice and your meal will be unsafe. Sorry, Team 2, an unwise choice. Check the cooking instructions on that package you ripped open so quickly.
Dude, what?
Microwaves and conventional ovens both have a purpose. Your challenge was to cook the dish safely. This means knowing which method of cooking to use and you failed.
We failed to read and follow the package cooking instructions and use a conventional oven.
If you don't follow cooking instructions, some foods may be hot but may not have reached a safe internal temperature. Use a food thermometer to be sure.
We kept focus on reading and following the package cooking instructions.
And we used a conventional oven and a food thermometer.
Can you cook it safe?
What's really cool about what NASCAR has done is bring the brand identity back into racing. The previous Cup cars were jelly bean shapes. You couldn't really tell one brand from another. The vision behind the new 2013 Camry Cup car was to take the Camry SE Sport model, but just amp it up. Really make the coolest, most aggressive Cup car possible.
Toyota tops the leader chart here in Daytona with Michael Waltrip, then David Reagan's Ford, Tony Stewart and Paul Menard in Chevrolets, and Kyle Busch's Toyota are the Fast Five. Michael Waltrip also has the best 5-lap average, while Reagan owns the best 10 consecutive laps in this 56-minute practice session. Krista?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. was conversing with crew chief Steve Letarte, teammate Jeff Gordon, engine guru Scott Maxim. So now we're going to ask you the same thing. What did you tell them?
Well, you know, we just broke a motor. Simple as that. They'll figure out what happened. I'm sure it's some logical explanation to what happened, but we'll just put a new one in it and start the back of the qualifier tomorrow and try to race up through there.
I know this is just a part of racing, but when it's Daytona and everything's so finite and details matter, will you go to bed a little worried tonight?
No, it's just a part of racing.
Thanks, Dale.
His teammate Jimmy Johnson outlogging laps in the Lowe's Chevrolet.
Logging single car laps. Dale Earnhardt Jr. logging single car laps. We've not seen Jeff Gordon in the 24 out there. The only Hendrick driver that's been out there actually in a pack is Casey Kane in that 5 car. Ran in a smaller pack a little earlier.
And Larry, so I know these guys. Jimmy Johnson, 5-time champion. Obviously, he has a lot of experience. Jeff Gordon, a lot of experience. But again, I'll just say this. I hope Danica is watching what these experienced teams and drivers are doing, getting ready for the upcoming weekend. I just don't see. I would not be comfortable putting her out there in a pack of cars. I just don't think it's necessary.
You know, I've told the story a lot about Danica Patrick this week since qualifying. You know, this will be her 7th start of some type here at Daytona. And Darrell, I go back to the Nationwide Series race last year. She sat on the pole and she ran up near the front in a big pack a lot of that race. In fact, her wingman was her teammate and owner, Tony Stewart, the majority of that race.
All she's got to do is, every time she's had problems in the Nationwide car or the Cup car, it's been late, right near the end of a race. As a matter of fact, last lap at Phoenix, where she was going to have a great top, probably 10th or 12th place finish. Here in her qualifying race last year, in great shape and got spun off turn 2. In the Nationwide race, been leading the race, running up front, got hit by her teammate. She just got to get past that. I hope that's what she's going to bring to the table this year, is that what she learned from all those things that happened to her last year.
You saw the list of those yet to practice. Some of those cars are in that line waiting to go out.
Right now, well, that's pretty much the lone driver out there, Jimmy Johnson, logging laps in that 48 car. He's completed a total of 12 laps. He's been out twice. And I think Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson, they've just taken the philosophy, if we make this car faster by itself, it's going to be faster in a pack, it's going to be faster in a draft.
But the double-edged sword here, as Darrell's pointed out, is
okay, Jimmy, you can bring it in.
The more you draft, the more you learn about how this car will work in traffic. And the other edge of that sword is the more you draft, the more you're apt to get caught up in a problem that's going to put your car to the back or worse.
Like he was on lap 15 in the Sprint Unlimited race the other night.
Yeah, I think if, you know, we can say their history is this is what they've done in the past. I'm not sure, because of this car and the learning experience that all these guys seem to be going through with this car, that history is really going to pay off for you. So, but one thing they have a lot more data to look at from all the other team cars than they ever had before.
low testosterone. There, I said it. How did I know? Well, I didn't really. See, I figured low testosterone would decrease my sex drive, but when I started losing energy and became moody, that's when I had an honest conversation with my doctor. We discussed all the symptoms, then he gave me some blood tests. Showed it was low T. That's it. It was a number, not just me.
Today, men with low T have Androgel 1.62% testosterone gel, the #1 prescribed topical testosterone replacement therapy. Increases testosterone when used daily. Women and children should avoid contact with application sites. Discontinue Androgel and call your doctor if you see unexpected signs of early puberty in a child or signs in a woman, which may include changes in body hair or a large increase in acne, possibly due to accidental exposure. Men with breast cancer or who have or might have prostate cancer, and women who are or may become pregnant or are breastfeeding should not use Androgel. Serious side effects include worsening of an enlarged prostate, possible increased risk of prostate cancer, lower sperm count, swelling of ankles, feet, or body, enlarged or painful breasts, problems breathing during sleep, and blood clots in the legs. Tell your doctor about your medical conditions and medications, especially insulin, corticosteroids, or medicines to decrease blood clotting.
So, what do men do when a number's too low? Turn it up.
In a clinical study, over 80% of treated men had their T levels restored to normal. Talk to your doctor about all your symptoms. Get the blood tests. Change your number. Turn it up. Androgel 1.62%.
NASCAR Sprint Cup practice presented by Toyota. 1 hour into this session. And here comes the pack. 9 cars strong. Fox Gen 6 cam hard at work, and if you're coming to the track this weekend, you'll see it suspended on catenary down across the tri-oval and giving you some unique views of the speedway.
I love that, Larry. What's it suspended on, Mike?
Well, catenary is a system of cables, and you see it often in the Northeast where it carries the electricity which runs the trains. Catenary.
I mean, down here around wherever I came from was a cable, you know.
Never been around no catenary.
Well, if it's a single cable, Darrell, it's a cable. If it's a system of cables,
it's a catenary.
It's a catenary, and there it is.
I like that.
To look from one end, it's more than half a mile is the run, and those towers are outside the grandstand, and there is the motor that runs it up and down the cables and the camera itself.
Roughly up to 85 miles per hour.
Wow.
Yeah. You know what else they have up northeast? Macadam.
What is that now?
He's the guy who invented asphalt.
Oh, okay.
And now that our history lesson is done for the day, thank you, Mrs. Moore, our 7th grade history teacher.
Back to the track.
Krista.
Well, down here in the garage, as cars are on the track, Brad Kozlowski just returned to his #2 machine in the garage. You remember at the start of practice, they had some sort of fuel issue. When we spoke with Brad, he said it was definitely in the fuel compartment. There you see him putting on the helmet. I just spoke with Paul Wolf. They have not been back out on the track. They did not have to change the engine, but they did change all the fuel pickups and then went through their fueling process to make sure there wasn't any issues with the fueling system. I asked him, is this the same department or compartment as last year with Penske's fueling issues? He said potentially yes, and that is the reason for concern, but they are planning on being back out there as you see Brad climb back into his race car.
And that was pretty much with the electric fuel pump and the lift pumps in the fuel cell a year ago.
Now we saw Casey Kane in a huge side draft.
Yeah, this is a
great
race little group right here, I'm telling you. Watch Casey Kane back here. We talk about side draft and what it can do and how it affects the cars. Watch this. Right over into the door. Right into the door. Right where that wake is, and then shoot away from it. It pulls you in, and it blows you out.
And that had somewhat dissipated with the car we've been racing. Now it seems like it's back, Darrell.
Yeah, watch. He's going to go right into the door. Right there. Got the side draft, get the suck, and away you go.
Carl Edwards talked about that's what he was going to try to maybe do with Ryan Newman, but I just think it ended up the perfect storm, if you might say, because Ryan Newman got loose as he was about to do it.
And it is a bit like a springboard, because as he gets up close to Regan Smith and narrows up the wall of air between them, creates a lot of pressure there. As Darrell says, it draws you in and then it spits you out. forward.
It's like if you think about air, think about a boat going through the water, and the boat puts out a wake. The race cars put out a wake of air. Once you break into that, inside that wake, when you're up alongside that car, he's breaking the water for you. Then when you jump the wake, you jump past him and get ahead of him.
And then I think this Generation 6 car, this new car, it's a different wake because of the shape of the greenhouse, the small rear spoiler. It's different from what we've had the last few years.
Well, I just had a moment. The way we stand in the booth, Darrell sort of faces turn 4. I sort of face turn 1. Larry stands in the middle. And I'm looking out and I see a huge plume of tire smoke over turn 2. That was Delta Flight 1087 landing from Atlanta at the Daytona airport right next door. I was going, where'd the car go? Where'd the car? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. There he goes. Gate 8, gate 9, gate 10.
Right.
Watching Jeff Burton in his 31 car lead this group around here. He qualified 20th. I talked to Jeff the day before yesterday, and they were a little concerned that they didn't have more speed in qualifying than what they had, but looks like they're pretty good at drafting.
Thursday, NASCAR's biggest stars return to the World Center of Racing, where the fight to make the 500 is on. The Budweiser Duel at Daytona, Thursday, live at 2 Eastern, only on Speed.
It's not just a car. It's your baby, your time machine. Sophie, Sally, Lucy, or Betty. Whatever you call her, if she's hurt, you're hurt. At Haggerty, we get it. That's why we handle claims with lots of respect and zero runaround. We'll track down the right replacement parts, let you choose the repair shop, or pay you to fix your car yourself. All for premiums up to 48% lower than everyday insurance. And we don't judge grown men who cry over cars. Haggerty, we may sell insurance, but we live classics.
Golden Corral just passed America's Family Budget Act. Right now, kids eat for just $2.99 Monday through Thursday. It's all your endless Golden Corral favorites, including our new sirloin filet and our non-stop butterfly shrimp. The $2.99 Kids Dinner Special, only at Golden Corral.
You might just want to trade that one in.
The Spring Fishing Classic starts this weekend at Bass Pro Shops. During our reel trade-in sale, save up to $100 more on a new reel when you trade one in.
This is the age of knowing what you're made of. Why let erectile dysfunction get in your way? Talk to your doctor about Viagra. Ask if your heart is healthy enough for sex. Do not take Viagra if you take nitrates for chest pain. It may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Side effects include headache, flushing, upset stomach, and abnormal vision. To avoid long-term injury, seek immediate medical help for an erection lasting more than 4 hours. Stop taking Viagra and call your doctor right away if you experience a sudden decrease or loss in vision or hearing. This is the age of taking action. Viagra. Talk to your doctor.
4-speed manual transmission, 850 horsepower, 1 bucket seat, 0 to 160 in 8 seconds. Oh, yeah. That baby will do.
Any questions?
I take it for a test drive.
You ever driven one of these things? I'll get the keys.
She don't take keys.
Friday, it's the season lid lifter for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series right here on Speed. You never know what to expect when the trucks hit the high banks of Daytona. Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, be right here on Speed. Jimmy Johnson back out for single car runs in Sprint Cup practice presented by Toyota. 1 hour and 10 minutes into this session. Michael Waltrip still quickest. David Reagan, Tony Stewart, Paul Menard, and Kyle Busch, the Fast Five. Pretty racy looking group here.
Yeah, that's Keselowski. He got back out there. That's Michael there behind him in the green and white car. And they're mixing it up pretty good. I'd be a little nervous, but they seem to have everything under control. Oh, engine never changes sound all the way around. You know, we talked the other day about how much RPM you lose in a corner. A couple of hundred, that's about it.
We can take a look at it right here as he goes around the racetrack, Brad Keselowski.
And that's the thing about these engines. They sustain this RPM all the way around the racetrack for 500 miles. and they are a piece of work. These restricted engines are a little bit different build than what we normally run.
Now, Keselowski had fuel, either pickup or delivery issues that sent him to the garage area for repairs, something they wrestled with for the first third of the season last year. But once they got that resolved, of the 6 fuel mileage races we had last year, Brad won 2 of them.
Yeah, I mean, the run that they had the last 20 races of last year, 17 top 10 finishes. He finished 11th, I think it was at Charlotte, got caught up in the crash at Bristol, didn't have to finish that high at Homestead, finished 15th, but an amazing run, 10 races into the chase, and then the 10 races in the chase.
It just all worked out for him there. If you think about Clint Boyer don't have trouble at Phoenix. He goes to Homestead. He puts pressure on Keselowski. Jimmy Johnson doesn't have trouble at Phoenix. They go to Homestead, you know, in a tight battle, but everything just fell in place for that 2 car. Even when they made a bad call to make a pit to stay out one time at Homestead, got them behind, but because everybody else had trouble, he prevailed.
Now here's what I've been looking for, Darrell. The first car in line, David Rudiman on the high side, Joe Nemechek on the inside. It's when one line pulls up on the next. What we saw in the Sprint Unlimited is that you could get to the leader, but you could not pass him. And I think we're seeing this again. You come right up to the head of the pack with the train that you're pulling, and you hit that huge headwind, and you stall out right there.
Yeah, I got 2 things. One is the rear spoiler is smaller, but the hardest thing I've seen for these guys to do is get all the way up against the guy that you're trying to help. It seems like you can get within 3 feet of him. You see that little gap that we seem to maintain all the way around the track. You just can't get up there and give him that shove you'd like to give him to push him ahead.
Because that gap is a big pocket of air, and it's acting like a basketball between the 2 cars, and you just can't compress it and get on up there.
You know, we talk about aero, we talk about clean air, we talk about dirty air. Darrell talked about the wake. We were riding with Jamie McMurray in the 1 car a while ago, and just look at what his hood is doing. He's in the dirty air of the wake of Joe Nemechek in the 87. The air is confused. It don't know where it wants to go or where it wants to flow because he's in that dirty air right now behind Nemechek in the 87.
And I'm surprised that these hoods are really, they're really strong. I mean, I think they're supposed to be stronger than the metal hoods we've been running.
Yeah, remember, we're running composite or carbon fiber hoods and deck lids this year with this new Generation 6 car.
Which, you know, Larry, as I watched it, that could be something that they want to take. They could be getting a lot of air up under that car and causing that battle with the inside and outside under the car.
Yeah, I think the perfect world, you want everything not to move, to be nice and solid.
Right, because that air flow is what goes into the engine. If you start messing with it before it even gets to the cowl box, sometimes it's a bad scenario.
Jimmy Johnson back to the garage after yet another single car run, and Michael Waltrip is still quickest.
Millions of fans, one family. It takes truly unlimited data to feed a family this large.
Nationwide is on your side. I've been saying that for years, but why should you believe it? Well, the Earnhardt family's been trusting Nationwide Insurance for more than 30 years.
They protected the Jarrett family for 40 years. And Nationwide Insurance puts members first because they don't have shareholders.
In fact, they've been protecting the NASCAR family of drivers, teams, and fans for more than 60 years.
Just goes to show you, this is a family business. To join the nation, call 877-NATIONWIDE. Nationwide is on your side.
Welcome to Cook It Safe Challenge, where teams compete to make the right decision about safe food preparation. Our challenge in this round, oven or microwave. To win, teams must use the proper steps for safe meal preparation, read and follow package cooking instructions, and know when to use the conventional oven or the microwave. You're on the clock, so make your decisions quickly, but be warned, make the wrong choice and your meal will be unsafe. Sorry, Team 2, an unwise choice. Check the cooking instructions on that package you ripped open so quickly.
Dude, what?
Microwaves and conventional ovens both have a purpose. Your challenge was to cook the dish safely. This means knowing which method of cooking to use, and you failed.
We failed to read and follow the package cooking instructions and use a conventional oven.
If you don't follow cooking instructions, some foods may be hot but may not have reached a safe internal temperature. Use a food thermometer to be sure.
We kept focus on reading and following the package cooking instructions.
And we used a conventional oven and a food thermometer.
Can you cook it safe?
Hey, let's put up $10,000 to answer the question, which is quicker, an American muscle car or a sophisticated European sports sedan? John Reap and his mullet mafia are going to find out in this epic 3-round battle that's going to preview right after the truck race Friday night on Speed. It's called Are You Faster Than a Redneck? Can you imagine Kenny Wallace going to be part of that?
No, I can't.
He is.
But I see Miss Danica's getting ready to take a little ride here.
And note the balaclava, Daryl, the head sock, if you will. It's something that was invented in Europe, and open wheel racers use it routinely. It hasn't gained much traction, though, among stock car drivers. But in the open wheel ranks, that's part of the driver's kit, is that fireproof head sock.
Where do you sit in an open wheel car? You sit in front of the motor.
And out in the open.
And out in the open. And so, you know, you don't have the same issues we have with these stock cars. Comfort has always been a consideration. We've even compromised safety sometimes for comfort. So that's one of the reasons why it's so hot in these cars, much hotter than it is. I'm assuming, I never drove an Indy car, but if you sat out in front of the engine, I would say it's a lot hotter than one of these stock cars.
There's the wreck earlier. Ryan Newman, Carl Edwards, Mark Martin involved, and wholesale sheet metal change on Newman's car to get it ready for the Budweiser Duel tomorrow. One last, some sanctioning bodies require a head sock if you have facial hair or long hair, which Danica does. Matt?
Hey, Mike, we've updated the 55 of Mark Martin and also the 99 of Carl Edwards and the damage that they sustained in that early crash. And this is Greg Zipadelli. He's been working, the team competition director, but he's been working on the left side of this machine. He's gone back up to the toolbox to get more parts and pieces. But these guys working on Ryan Newman's Chevrolet, the whole half of the left side is gone. You can see them working on what's new for this year for the restrictor plate races, that lip around the bottom portion of the bumper. That's been damaged. Just a lot of parts and pieces. And really, Larry Mack, for years back when you used to work at Robert Yates, you'd always see certain guys come down to Daytona and Talladega because these bodies so special, and just the smallest little detail can mean so much as far as speed on the racetrack. And that's why these things are works of art when it comes to plate racing.
Hey, Matt, Larry needed all those guys to get through in technical inspection.
Oh, say it ain't so.
But I will say, I hate using the word easy when it comes to building one of these race cars. But I think today repairing one, even at the track, is easier because you see that section they had cut out. They have that section they can put right back in there. There's more components to work with today.
Yeah, we had to have fabricators to build those pieces. They had to roll them on an English wheel. They had to pound them, beat them, shape them, and they had to be perfect because you got to go through tech. So these things come already made now, and you just kind of can cut parts out and put parts in.
Well, obviously, Trevor Bayne convinced his crew chief, Donnie Wingo, to let him go out and practice because there's the 21.
Well, what I see with Trevor Bayne in the 21 here is we've got about 11 minutes left in practice. I think we're going to see the same thing with Danica Patrick. One run in this practice session. I talked about how much they changed between qualifying and race setup. If anything else, you need to go out there and make sure nothing's going to leak and everything's just feeling right and driving right.
Yeah, I'd want at least 2 or 3 laps just to say, okay, the car drives like it did the other day. The car's perfect. I like the way it feels. I'm good to go. Rather than starting the race and getting the race started screaming, I can't drive this thing.
And here comes Danica through the garage in her GoDaddy Chevrolet, working the route that will bring her around past the inspection station and out onto pit road. It is a V-shaped garage. There's 24 stalls on one side and about the same number on the other, and without a lot of owner points from 2012, this team is on the back side of the V, so it's a long way to go to get to this area that on the left, the yellow building, the inspection station, right there with all the Sprint identity, past the fan zone and out to pit road behind Matt Kenseth.
Now, we're being told that she's going to stop in her pit stall that she'll have tomorrow, simulate sitting there for a pit stop, and then simulate leaving, going through the gearbox. Just things that she doesn't have a lot of time doing.
But, Larry, you know, I was watching her come through the garage and out on the track, and you've been there. You know how it feels, and I do too, when everybody in the garage area stops and watches to see what you're going to do. That's a great feeling.
Since she's won the Daytona 500 pole on Sunday, about everybody in America has stopped to watch and see what she's going to do next.
Yeah, and she didn't actually go in the pit box, but she was down there in the vicinity that her pit box is, and then she left hard going through the gearbox.
I think she's hopefully going to catch up with this pack of cars coming here. There's only 5 of them.
Just stay rolling here. I can't do a simulated start.
Sound like she would like to come off of turn 4 at pit road speed or at race pace car speed and simulate a start, which is not a bad idea.
Because she will start the dual race tomorrow as well as the Daytona 500 from the pole.
I think if I were her, I'd give that some thought.
5 cars about 20 car lengths behind her. And that draft beginning to reel her in as now she is up to speed. And one car about 30 or 40 lengths ahead of her.
And I've also been here when I go out for this practice and just had my fingers and toes and saying my prayers that nothing happens to this sweet thing, because it's you got everything in that basket right there.
The Asphalt Gladiators return to racing's biggest arena for a full-throttle fight to the finish.
Hard into the wall!
The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series from Daytona, Friday at 7 Eastern, live on Speed.
I hate that cable only lets us record 2 shows at once.
Me too. Cable's worse than...
Not being able to record all our shows at once is more annoying than...
We need to upgrade to DirecTV and get the new Genie. She lets you record 5 shows at once.
I want DirecTV more than...
Record 5 shows at once with the new DirecTV Genie. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
Love that new car smell.
Speed's presentation of NASCAR Sprint Cup practice from Daytona is presented by Toyota. Let's go places. About 6 minutes remaining in this first of 2 practice sessions today. We've just learned that Tony Stewart is done for the day. His Mobil 1 Chevrolet. 6 cars on track, 2 packs of 3. And Mr. Lonely.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy Johnson.
Darryl, you were talking earlier about how well these drivers can work in this draft. You talked about the spotters. And looking at Danica Patrick, the 3rd car in line there, the 10 car. The other thing that she'll be doing for the first time, because remember at the test she never did any drafting, she's working with a new spotter this year, Brandon Manesh, that was actually over there with Junior Motorsports. So that's just another thing that she's going to have to get acclimated to, as well as he's going to have to get acclimated to her.
Yeah, you know, the one thing that I've noticed about her ever since she's been here in NASCAR, she never seems to panic.
Stuff there by 10.
She always seems to be calm and cool and just listening and following instructions and doing her job.
Binoculars, an important tool for spotters here at Daytona, because the cars can be almost a mile away from you when they're on the back straightaway. That's the view from our Gen 6 cam, the cable mounted camera. That's even a little closer to the cars than the spotters are.
I was going to say, I've spotted here, and on the backstretch, they look like little colored ants. Daryl, I think this is a good pack of cars for her to be in. She's out there with 2 other cars, Trevor Brain, Keselowski. They've got fast race cars. Probably not a bad pack to be in.
No, when you said that, that 93 car was coming off the racetrack, I didn't think he was going to get that thing woed up. He might want to not run too many laps on that right front tire. He slid it so far.
Travis Kvapil. I like the rally stripes on those cars. Kind of a trend that Jimmy Johnson started last year, and now the BK team, one in red and white, one in blue and white, has picked it up.
Yeah, you know, the only thing that's worrying me about this little run right here, she's running behind Keselowski. He had that fuel pump issue. Hope that thing doesn't decide to cut off all of a sudden.
That would be big.
We're in the waning minutes of the first of 2 practice sessions for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series today on Speed.
Thursday, NASCAR's biggest stars return to the World Center of Racing for the Budweiser Duel at Daytona. 2 action-packed white-knuckle races.
This is the ultimate go-or-go-home day
that set the field for the Daytona 500. The Budweiser Duel at Daytona. Thursday, live at 2 Eastern, only on Speed.
Let's pinch our dreams. Let's wake them up. Make them real. Let's not let anything hold us back. Not even 292,000 pounds. Let's keep our head in the stars, our feet on the ground, and nothing will be beyond our reach. Toyota, let's go places.
So, you say men are superior drivers?
Yeah.
Then how do I get this?
Safe driving bonus check. Every 6 months without an accident, Allstate sends a check. Okay. Silence. Are you in good hands?
They say a guy should try to get out of his comfort zone every now and then. We just don't see it that way. That's why Wrangler 5-Star Premium Denim Jeans are made with a U shape. They don't cut into you. Wrangler. Real, comfortable jeans.
That's nice. Hello there.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.
Sprint Cup Series practice presented by Toyota, and again, Brad Keselowski in difficulty pulling his car to the bottom of the racetrack in turn 2.
I watched him make a pit stop, simulate a pit stop, and he smoked that right front tire a long, long way coming into the pits. He may have blown that right front tire out, and he's just riding around real slow to get back to the garage.
He did come to pit road hot.
A couple of times I've seen these guys, I didn't think they were going to make it.
Trying to see, just looking at the valence to the racetrack, to the asphalt. It's hard to say.
Because the safety interliner keeps that tire from going flat to the rim. But if he did flat spot it, that would produce a tremendous vibration as he tried to get back up to speed at a minimum.
Yeah.
Flags are out. Practice is over. 1 round of practice to go later this afternoon. We'll have that one for you live on Speed. Danica Patrick also practicing pit entry. Her pit will be easy to find. It's got that big Sunoco diamond sign right where her pit is. Even if things are crowded, she is in the final pit stall.
And we know a 60-lap race, every driver will have to make at least one pit stop tomorrow in the Budweiser duel.
The Daytona 500 pole sitter back to the garage. Michael Waltrip, fastest in practice. David Reagan, Tony Stewart, Paul Menard, and Kyle Busch are the fast five ahead of Edwards, Dillon, Hamlin, Biffle, and Mark Martin. We'll be back in a little while with the second round of practice today. Now over to John Roberts.
Thanks, Mike. The countdown continues to the 55th running of the Daytona 500, and so far, Speed Weeks has provided us with plenty of action and drama. This is exactly what teams did not want to see. Their primary Daytona 500 cars back in the garage and torn up. It started with your defending series champion, Brad Keselowski, and his #2 machine. He thought he had blown an engine. It is just a fuel problem. He will not have to go to a backup car. As a matter of fact, he made it back out for the majority of the 90-minute practice session. Now, trouble in turn one as we see the red car being driven by Ryan Newman, Carl Edwards right behind him, and Mark Martin get into a little melee. None will go to a backup car, but nonetheless, this will set them back after another practice accident. As we take another look to see exactly what went on the racetrack, you see as Ryan Newman just got a little loose with Carl Edwards right on the back of his car, and that is what caused this to happen. Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. did indeed blow his engine on the backstretch. That means he will have to go to the back of the pack with a new engine to start his dual race. And now the work continues in the garage area as Earnhardt's team continues to work on that car and get the new engine in. We have you covered on NASCAR Live, presented by Toyota. The Daytona 500 is like no other race. Therefore, the qualifying procedure is like no other race. It's a whole different ball game down here. Welcome once again, everyone, to NASCAR Live, presented by Toyota. The question today, to practice or not to practice, and those who did practice had to weigh the risk and the reward. I'm John Roberts alongside of Kyle Petty and Jeff Hammond. Guys, we saw what happened. So many people were watching this practice cautiously. The guys that were out there, Kyle, some had trouble.
Yeah, some of them did have trouble. And you know, it's funny. We have not seen a big pack in any of these practices. If we go back to testing, there was a wreck in the biggest pack that we've seen besides what we saw in the Sprint Unlimited. But you see this, and it's hard to really tell what's going on with this car. There seems to be a blind spot or a dead spot or a bad spot of air right there on the left rear. Every accident we've seen so far has been this left rear. You see the 39 car of Ryan Newman, he's right there. And in Ryan's words, he said, you know, it was just like all of a sudden he got on my quarter panel on the left rear and I spun around. I don't think we fully understand the aero and what's going on with this car yet. There's so much turbulence and so much bouncing around. We've heard Tony Stewart talk about the bubble and all that stuff. The drivers need to be out there, but Jeff, as a crew chief, you don't want us out there.
No, I don't want you out there. I want to run as few laps as possible because I want to make sure I've got this car for the 500. It's a very unnerving situation that we're kind of faced with because Kyle keeps saying we need to learn about this race car, but I don't want to take a chance of losing this race car. So it's like, okay, guys, when you go out there, let's try to be smart. And I think you've really hit it right on the head because, Kyle, these guys don't know what the car's doing when the air is getting churned up out there. This wake that this car is producing is totally different than what it was a year ago. We talk about the downforce on this car. It's not as much as we had a year ago here at Daytona. So I think this is where the guys are starting to beginning to find a lot of their problems. And Darrell Waltrip, I think, said it very best early on, you know, when we got ready for the Sprint Unlimited. These guys have got to unlearn what they've been doing all throughout the last couple of years with the old Gen 5 car or the COT. They've got to understand you're going to sneak up on this and realize you may lose the front end, you may lose the back end. And crew chiefs, you got to tighten the car up. It's just the way you got to do it to get ready to race. Plus, the racetrack is hot. It's getting slicker, and these guys have got to be on top of it. The next time they go out in this final practice, you better be careful.
Well, Jeff, this is just one of 2 90-minute practice sessions today. For more on the fallout from practice number 1, let's go to Wendy Venturini.
Thank you, Johnny. We've had plenty of action in that first practice session. 3 cars damaged, none of them to backups. The 99 car has already fixed that damage and is in the tech inspection line. Take a look at damage from the 99. They put helicopter tape on the nose all the way to the right rear part of the race car, all the way to the rear bumper, right rear quarter panel right there. They TIG welded and already have some new decals on that machine. Now the 39 of Ryan Newman, they are replacing the left side all the way from the driver door to the wheel well. You see the fabrication team brought in to Daytona just for these reasons. Now the good news is that these cars with the Gen 6 are pretty easy to fix. I spoke with Rodney Childers, the crew chief for the 55 of Mark Martin. They also have that damage from the left front fender to halfway up the door. He said it is taking away some time from these teams, but not taking away any aero advantage. No doubt, 3 teams that are hustling in between these practice sessions to get back out there. It's going to be a busy one when practice begins again. Hermie Sadler.
Well, thank you, Wendy. And officials from Hendrick Motorsports and Hendrick Engines hard at work in the 88 garage here of Dale Earnhardt Jr. You heard John Roberts talk about Dale Earnhardt loses an engine in that practice session. That is a shot of the engine that came out of the 88 car. Over to the right is a shot of the new engine. Scott Maxim from Hendrick Engines putting the intake and getting ready to put the headers on this engine to go in the car. And as far as the drivers are concerned, Dale Earnhardt Jr., he told our Chris Devoto, no problem for me. We'll put a new engine in, start in the back, and make our way to the front in the dual race tomorrow. And for fans at home, Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be able to retain the spot he earns in the dual race tomorrow. So he will start in the rear of the dual, but he has an opportunity to get some of those spots back. I asked Scott Maxim about what happened to the engine. He has not diagnosed that issue yet. This engine that came out has to go to NASCAR first, then they'll take a look at it. Now, the 2 car, Brad Keselowski, also in the beginning thought he had engine problems. Slowed on the racetrack, rolled to pit road. When they got in and diagnosed the problem, it was not an engine problem, rather an issue potentially with a fuel pickup. I went down to check with those guys. They were working on the fuel cell and the fuel pump, Johnny, to diagnose that problem. And remember, the 2 car had a couple issues last year, fuel pickup, fuel pump problems, so you know a little bit of concern in the 2 pit.
Hermie, thanks a lot as we watch live the Hendrick Motorsports engine team putting this engine back in the car. And Jeff Hammond, it is amazing the skill with which they do this.
Oh, they've got everything down, scienced out. But, you know, JR, what really concerns me here, and understand this, we got enough problems trying to work on the car. Now, all of a sudden, we can't get on the racetrack to maybe get some valuable practice time because we got an engine issue. And when you start having engine issues, Kyle, that just does not make things better for you as far as a crew's concerned.
And let me ask you a question. It sounded like the bearings came out of that thing, the way it began to seize up. How quickly can they change an engine when we're talking oil tanks and lines and trash?
Much quicker than we ever had in the past because of the fact they've got so many parts that they'll just pull out, stick another oil tank in it, with stainless steel lines that run underneath the cars nowadays. You know, just listen to this thing, what he's talking about. It's kind of like the sound. It's really kind of running, almost straining.
You heard it begin to kind of change pitch, and then you hear the rattling. And a lot of times that's indicative of the bearings being knocked out.
And that's a bad thing. You don't want to have the problem because you say you've got to clean this entire system, but they'll take all the parts and pieces out, put new pieces back in. This will be a pretty easy process. But again, it's not the kind of mental thing that you want to get into. Oh, yeah, it'll be fine. The reason why it's got to be fine, you got no other choice.
Yeah, you got to go.
You're going to go to a different manufacturer? No, they've got to figure this thing out, get it diagnosed, and between now and the 500, I guarantee you they will know what the answer is. And as far as the 2 is concerned, I believe it's because they went from Dodge to Ford, totally different fuel pickup situation. They'll get it figured out. That's not a big deal as much as I am worried about these engines and this race car finding the aero balance that we need for this final practice.
Well, let's set it inside the racetrack and check in with Rick Allen and company in the old Victory Lane studio. And Rick, there haven't been a lot of engine troubles here so far in Speed Weeks, but there is a common thread.
Yeah, Hendrick is the common thread right now. We've seen Juan Pablo Montoya have a problem with his horsepower. Now we've seen Dale Earnhardt Jr. have an issue with his engine. Let's discuss that as one of our topics. Matt Clark, Dave Despain up here. Is that a concern? I mean, we look at our front row, and it's powered by Hendrick Motors. We've got Danica Patrick and Jeff Gordon on the front row. Big picture, are they a little bit nervous?
Absolutely. Anytime you lose motors, you have to be concerned. Scotty Maxim, Jeff Andrews, they head up the Hendrick Motorsports program for their motors. There has to be a little bit concerned, but you heard Jeff speaking as a crew chief. You got to put it behind you. You got to move forward. I spoke to other folks in the garage not associated with that Chevy camp. They're also concerned about their motors, and this is why. You have to live on the jagged edge of performance. That includes bodies, motors, everything. So these guys are pushing the limits, the tolerances to try to get as much horsepower as they can out of these plate motors. So yes, they are very concerned about what could happen.
I think the much bigger, somebody always blows a motor at Daytona, a motor or two, and we're always concerned about that. The much bigger issue here is the two-part problem that these teams have. These are Daytona 500 cars. Problem number one, they have this unique qualifying system. They have to run that car 150 miles tomorrow, then final practice, and then get it into the big show on Sunday. Some of these drivers have never drafted with their Daytona 500 car. None of them have drafted enough. They haven't driven through that Tony Stewart bubble of air. They haven't felt the new side draft. They haven't felt the car move, some say half a lane sideways with no steering input whatsoever. They have to experience that in order to know how to race the 500, which brings you to problem two. This is your Daytona 500 car.
That's right.
The way you learn all that stuff is go out there and do it, and sometimes wreck them, or have the misfortune of being behind the other guy who does that. It's a terribly difficult balancing act that these teams are facing right now.
And why is this such a big deal? Obviously, we've got, well, body damage. That happens at every racetrack. We've got engines that blow. Those happen at virtually every racetrack. Well, it's a big deal because it's the Daytona 500, JR.
Yeah, everybody wants to start the season off well, Rick, and we got the season started off for you, the race fan at home. Tomorrow, race day, the Dual Edition comes your way before the green flag drops on the Budweiser Dual. NASCAR Race Day delivers the ultimate pre-race setup for a wild day of racing, as we've seen so far. Then Friday, the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race at 7 o'clock Eastern. Always some of the greatest racing here at Speed Weeks. The Daytona 500 is on Fox at noon on Sunday, and then Victory Lane follows the race on Speed. We'll be back to NASCAR Live, presented by Toyota, in a moment.
NASCAR Live is presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Brought to you in part by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by DirecTV. Only DirecTV gives you dedicated driver channels so you never miss a second of your driver's race. Call 1-800-DIRECTV.
Love that new car smell.
Tonight on NASCAR Race Hub, we break down Daytona 500 practice. We saw cars collide and Dale Jr. blow an engine. Mike Joy and Darrell Waltrip will recap. And Steve Burns is also at the beach. We'll see you at 6 p.m. Eastern.
The Asphalt Gladiators return to racing's biggest arena for a full-throttle fight to the finish.
Hard into the wall.
The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series from Daytona. Friday at 7 Eastern, live on Speed.
You might just want to trade that one in.
The Spring Fishing Classic starts this weekend at Bass Pro Shops. During our reel trade-in sale, save up to $100 more on a new reel when you trade one in.
So, if you have a flat tyre, dead battery, need a tow, or lock your keys in the car, Geico's Emergency Roadside Assistance is there 24/7. Oh dear, I got a flat tyre. Yeah, can you find a take where it's a bit more dramatic on that last line, yeah? Yeah, I got it right here.
Someone help me! I have a flat tyre!
Oh, it's good for me. What do you think?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
All right, now that you're part of Junior Motorsports, let's see what you can do. You know, on second thought, I know something you might be perfect at.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
File your federal return for only $9.95 with TaxSlayer.com.
Love that new car smell.
Danica racing, boys, and Danica. He slides. You got it, man. We won.
There is simply no better way to start out the season than by winning the Daytona 500, and Matt Kenseth has done it twice. That now is not Matt Kenseth's car anymore. That is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. as the work continues in the garage area after a very eventful first of 2 practice sessions. And gentlemen, let's look who's fast. Should come as no surprise, a 2-time Daytona 500 winner, Mikey Waltrip's on top of the chart.
I am surprised a little bit he's the fastest.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, I look at him, David Reagan, and these are some of the fastest speeds, correct me if I'm wrong, that we've seen all week long.
All week long.
Down here, and it's a lot hotter, and as Jeff said, a lot slicker.
The car right now that's got my attention has to be the Tony Stewart. Third quick right there. He's got a car up there on the front row. He's been fast all through testing as well since he's gotten here.
And as
could it be his year?
Yeah, it could be. But as we look at Matt Kenseth there in 11th and Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin was in the top 10. The Gibbs organization has my attention this year. They have been consistently top 10 cars almost all of the last through testing and last week.
Newman, Harvick, and Jamie McMurray all past winners of the Daytona 500. It is time now for our Geico Pit Report, and for that we start out with Wendy.
Well, thank you, Johnny. Kyle was just mentioning that the Gibbs cars have Kyle's attention so far, Matt. So what have you noticed about the car so far in practice this morning, and anything you can learn from what we've seen?
I think we probably learned a little bit. So this car did drive and handle a little bit different than our car did Saturday night. I know the track conditions are a lot different today. So I feel like we learned a little bit in practice today, but I think the big test is going to be running a straight 150 miles tomorrow.
Now, the side draft that we just saw in the first practice wreck, I know you've been busy in the race car. The accident that happened last week with the unlimited cars, what can you take away from all this as a driver?
Well, I think you're always learning. I think this car is a little bit different than cars we've had in years past. I mean, you get runs in different areas, and there's certain areas that seem to be more sensitive than others. So I think it's always just learning you know, more about the car, what it likes, try to get your car handled as good as you can, and then get out in the race tomorrow in real race conditions when everybody's, you know, trying to get to the front and try to go from there.
All right, you're going to sit out this practice, or do you have a lot on the agenda with your crew chief, Jason Ratcliffe?
You know, I was just telling you before, I always feel like Jason doesn't trust me, you know, because we got ready for practice. Well, in the test session, we weren't out there in the big draft, and then it crashed. And then today, he wouldn't let me, you know, he was kind of dragging his feet. I could just tell it was about 20 minutes in, and finally was like, okay, we're ready, and they wrecked out there. And so now I'm thinking that Snide doesn't trust me. I think he's maybe just that smart. So so he says we're done. He's seen everything we need to see. We're just going to get ready to race tomorrow.
All right, we'll have a good rest of the week. And no doubt when drivers have to sit out practice, Hermie Sadler, we know they're jumping on the walls to get into their race cars.
Well, you're right, Wendy. And one happy driver I would think right now is Michael Waltrip, top of the speed chart. I know drafting can be a little bit deceiving, but it's got to be a good sign for your team to have that kind of speed.
It's just so fun to work with Tony Jr. That whole Swan Racing team, Brandon and David Strimmy are
And why are you breathing so hard?
Well, for the first time since Sunday morning, I ran. Keith D'Alessandro, People's producer, said, run find Hermie, he wants to interview you. So I didn't know if I could run again after running 13 miles Sunday morning, but I ran to see you because I love your new haircut and your clean facial features. But mainly I'm happy about my car and Tony Jr. He just knows me. You know, we worked together back in 2005 here at Daytona. He heard my stories from Slugger and the folks that worked on my 15 car before then. He knows what I like. And Hermie, I'm telling you, this racing reminds me a whole lot of like it was back in 2003 and 4, right along in there. So I think we're a good combo. I'm really thankful to get to race in the Daytona 500, and hopefully tomorrow afternoon we can have a good day.
And what's your plan for the second practice? Another hour and a half left. Are you done for the day, or you got some more work to do?
Yeah, I think I'm done. The boys are going to look things over, and if everything looks all right, we're going to quit and hopefully be ready for tomorrow, and I might go for a run. You energized me, Hermie.
Well, I've accomplished one thing today. I've energized Michael Waltrip, and that might be the prettiest shirt that I've seen in Daytona. How about it?
Do we need to energize Mikey? He's always so jacked up anyway. He's already got plenty of energy. Well, of course, when Mikey won his first Daytona 500, he did it driving for the late, great Dale Earnhardt. 12 years ago, we lost one of the legends of NASCAR and one of the truly great champions of all time. Haggerty presents Daytona Classic Moments. We may sell insurance, but we live classics.
You
know, we had won the Daytona 499 2 or 3 times, and we'd been right there at the end.
This is going to cost Dale Earnhardt the race. He's overshot his 50. They have to pull the car back in order to meet the rules.
4-car shootout to decide it all. Dale Earnhardt.
Here comes Cope down on the inside. Earnhardt has problems.
Down the back straightaway. Big trouble. Earnhardt out.
I knew how bad he really wanted a Daytona 500.
20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration. Dale Earnhardt will come to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500. Every man on every crew has come out to the edge of pit lane.
And that day to win the Daytona 500, it wasn't so much for RCR, it was important for us, but for Dale and his career was special, and it was special for RCR.
The Daytona 500 is ours. We've won it, we've won it, we've won it.
This classic Daytona moment was presented by Hagerty. For all of your classic car insurance needs, go to Hagerty.com. We got to take a quick break here on NASCAR Live, presented by Toyota, but when we come back, we will continue to get you ready for what should be a very eventful practice number 2 here at Daytona today for the Budweiser Duel.
At Hagerty, classic cars are all we insure because that's what we love. The Honeys, the Head Turners, the Hellraisers. Every one of them makes our heart beat faster. So whether you own one classic or 100, when it comes to insurance, choose the company built to serve you. Hagerty, better coverage and service than everyday insurance at a savings of up to 48%. Show your love for your classic car with Hagerty. We may sell insurance, but we live classics.
The first and most important step toward accomplishing something is showing up. And with the most advanced all-wheel drive system in its class that adapts to conditions as they change, now all you have to worry about is what you accomplish when you get there.
Nexium, the purple pill, helps provide many with day and night relief of heartburn symptoms caused by acid reflux disease. There is risk of bone fracture and low magnesium levels. Side effects may include headache, abdominal pain, and diarrhea. Call your doctor right away if you have persistent diarrhea. Other serious stomach conditions may exist. Don't take Nexium if you take clopidogrel. Ask your doctor if Nexium is right for you. Find out how you may be able to get Nexium for just $18 a month at purplepill.com.
Stupid, slow, dirty PC.
You know, you really should clean it up and speed it up at mycleanpc.com.
Is your computer running slow? What if you could fix it while you were online? Now you can. Just go to mycleanpc.com for your free diagnosis today. Then just activate the mycleanpc.com software to fix it in minutes. And computer specialists are available while you're online. Get rid of pop-ups and junk files. Boost your PC startup time. Even prevent annoying errors, screen freezes, and crashes.
The best thing about mycleanpc.com was it had a free diagnosis.
You know immediately what the problem is, and the problem is solved right then and there.
My computer is 100% faster. My Clean PC works.
Download your free diagnosis today at mycleanpc.com. That's mycleanpc.com.
They call it the world's most famous beach, and just inland from that Daytona beach is, quite frankly, one of the most famous racetracks in the world, the Daytona International Speedway. Welcome back, everyone, to NASCAR Live, presented by Toyota. Let's get us back now in the garage with Hermie Sadler, who's standing by with a driver who still has to claim his spot in the 500.
Well, a lot of excitement in the 33 pit. Austin Dillon trying to make your first Daytona 500. So far, so good. Decent speed in qualifying. First time on the racetrack drafting in a Cup car at Daytona. How was it?
Yeah, it was good. I was a little free at the beginning of the run. Me and Paul kind of had the same complaint about the car, but we got it really pretty good there that second run. So I'm looking forward to it. It was a lot of fun out there. I didn't want to quit, but everybody here wants us to get in the race, so we're going to wait and do our racing tomorrow at the duels.
So no more practice for the 33 team today?
Yeah, the Honey Nut Cheerio Chevrolet's done for this afternoon, so we're going to go into tomorrow in the second duel and see what we can do.
And I asked you about some of the dirt racing you've been doing this week, and you said you and Schrader apparently had a heck of a finish on the dirt track.
Yeah, me and Kenny Schrader had a great race. We started 10th. He started 10th, I started 14th, and came up through there to first and second. We were door to door at the line, so it was an awesome race, and we were hanging out the night before, so it was a good weekend.
Well, that's Austin Dillon. He'll be trying to make the Daytona 500 tomorrow in the duel at Daytona. Wendy?
Thanks, Hermie. I just grabbed Casey Mears out of his hauler where he is debriefing, going over a lot of notes from practice. What were you able to take away in the practice this morning, Casey?
It was good to get in the pack. It was a smaller pack actually than what we had in the test. But just the car's closing rate is really good. I mean, the cars suck up really well, but it seems like when you get close, they stall out pretty quickly. At the same time, it's really easy to dump air on somebody else and really slow them down. So a lot of the similarities that we've had in the past, but all that stuff just seems to be a little bit more. You can dump air on somebody and slow them down quite a bit more. It's a little bit harder to get to the guy in front of you, but with somebody behind you, it's no problem. So it's going to be exciting to see when we get in a big pack tomorrow exactly how the cars respond.
All right, well, good luck out there the rest of the week. I know he and his crew chief, Booty Barker, were mulling over the notes, but one thing that Casey's going to have some fun with, check out this guitar Casey received from a fan this morning in Daytona, and he tweeted about it. That is a pretty cool guitar. The fan took the time, painted it with the paint scheme of Casey Mears colors. That is a pretty sweet gift to a driver. Johnny?
I would say so. Awesome fans in Daytona is exactly right. So way to go, Casey. Maybe you can play some sweet music on Sunday. Friday, the world's toughest truckers hit the high banks for the Can't Miss Trucks Race of the Year. Strap in for 250 miles of wide open racing and a fight to the finish. It's Friday at 7 Eastern, live on Speed.
Thursday, NASCAR's biggest stars return to the World Center of Racing, where the fight to make the 500 is on. The Budweiser Duel at Daytona, Thursday, live at 2 Eastern, only on Speed.
You think your little Euro trash ride can beat my American muscle? Bring it on.
Are you faster than a redneck? Catch a special preview after the trucks race, Friday, only on Speed.
Millions of fans, one family. It takes truly unlimited data to feed a family this large. There's a new class of hardest working, smoothest riding. It's got the most torque, the smoothest suspension, the best storage, class-leading comfort, and a revolutionary collection of versatile accessories. It's built on everything we've learned creating the world's best-selling utility side-by-sides. Introducing the all-new 60-horsepower Ranger XP 900. A whole new class of hardest working, smoothest riding.
The DVR's full again.
Oh, you're kidding. Cable's more irritating than...
I know. Cable makes me angrier than...
We need to upgrade to DirecTV and get the new Genie. She gives you 3 times more storage than cable.
You're right.
DirecTV is more amazing than...
Get 3 times more HD recording capacity with a new DirecTV Genie. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
If I had a nickel.
If I had a nickel.
If I had a nickel for every rain delay.
For every time my mom said I should have been an architect.
A doctor.
A lawyer.
For every itch I couldn't reach.
For every time I used fluid dynamics to reduce my drag coefficient.
For every time.
For every time somebody joked with me about having gas.
For every time I couldn't find my sunglasses.
For every time I pretended a grocery cart was a race car.
For every time.
Are we bidding for 4 tires in Sunoco?
Man, if I had a nickel.
If you had a Sunoco Rewards credit card, you'd get a nickel for every gallon you pump. Go Sunoco.
Welcome back to NASCAR Live, presented by Toyota. You can stay in contact with us and connect with us, not only on Facebook, but also Twitter. Twitter.com handle at NASCAR on Speed, and at Facebook, at speed. Now, obviously, one of the most trendy drivers in social media has to be Danica Patrick, one of the most popular drivers as well in all the world. So a lot of pressure on this young lady as she has already won the pole for the Daytona 500, and all eyes continue to be on her, as Sunday was a very big day, and it's a very historic day because she's the first ever woman to win the pole at Daytona and the first ever woman to win a Sprint Cup pole. So Danica Patrick celebrating from Sunday all the way until the Budweiser Duel, which will take place tomorrow. Now, with that added pressure, I mean, she's been involved in some big races in her life, but all eyes are on her to see if she can succeed.
I think all the pressure on Danica Patrick is self-imposed. I don't think there's any pressure on Danica Patrick to perform because her career has always been based on celebrity and not on performance. Let's be honest. She won 2 automobile races in her life. One of those was a celebrity race. One was a gas mileage derby. Danica is famous. Her sex appeal has helped fuel her career. She's made no bones about that. She's embraced that. She's used it. There's nothing wrong with that. Danica is a racer at heart. Give her that. And that's where the pressure comes from. But there is no pressure for her to perform. There will never be a day of reckoning.
Or expectation.
Exactly. Where she has to live up to the expectation. That's not what the game is all about for her. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It's just that we all feel a little weird about it. You know, is all this hype for real? Are all these people that are going to be attracted to the Daytona 500 because Danica's sitting on the pole watching racing for the wrong reasons? And I don't have the answers to those questions. I think Danica on the pole is a great thing for the sport. It's going to attract more eyeballs. It's going to attract more fans. It's going to inspire young women. That's all good stuff. But as far as Danica ever living up to the hype, that is never going to happen.
And on those same notes, in the social media world, Danica Patrick, number 5 worldwide trending. So we're talking a big thing, not only with the Daytona 500, but a very big thing. Any pressures as far as this engine situation she's got now?
Well, I think when you look at it in general, Rick, she has to survive the duel tomorrow. That's the big thing, because ultimately you want to start the Daytona 500 on the front row like she qualified for and not have to drop to the back because of a wreck, an engine problem. So their end goal is to get that 10 car to take the green flag up front and then let the chips fall.
And so, obviously, she's one of the biggest topics that we're going to continue to talk about. And the Hendrick Motors issue that we've talked about already with Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Juan Pablo Montoya, those 2 horsepower vehicles, right, obviously an issue. But we continue on the social media trend, and her crew chief, Tony Gibson, old man, they always call him, at Tony Old Man 10. He tweeted, they put a flag behind their hauler, winner. The Coors Light pole winner. So
that's
she
awesome.
has that for the whole week. This is the only place she's ever you're only going to have the pole for a week at Daytona. And obviously very happy about that display.
We talked earlier about that pressure of do you go out and run or do you not go out and run? She has no drafting experience in this car on that racetrack. Starting at the head of the field tomorrow, that is a terrible position to be in.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Tony Gibson, though, he'll walk her through it. I mean, he's a great crew chief. He's been around. So if any guy can kind of help her through it, Dave, I mean, Tony Gibson will help pull her through to get her to Sunday.
And one thing she did do.
Daytona pole, let's not forget.
That's right. Nationwide a year ago.
Show, the 500. This is the Daytona 500.
It continues to be a learning experience for Danica Patrick. She was actually practicing pit stops during that first practice session. Well, we're talking about the big race. Sunday, NASCAR returns to Fox with the 55th running of the Great American Race. It's the debut of the Gen 6 cars, the new cars that are putting the stock back into stock car racing that everyone is talking about. See the future of racing and the world's best drivers. The Daytona 500 Sunday, noon Eastern, only on Fox.
Jimmy, winning Vegas was great. Think I'll do it again.
Dude, I've won 4 of them. How you gonna beat me?
Wasn't too hard last year.
Is there anything better than NASCAR and a weekend in Vegas? It's the excitement of NASCAR and the everything else of Vegas in one amazing weekend. The 2013 Cobalt Tools 400 in Las Vegas.
Sorry, boys. Time for Vegas to see a new winner. Harvick?
Don't miss your NASCAR weekend in Las Vegas. Call or click today.
Whether we're designing with pencil and paper or using sophisticated CAD tools, the one thing that never changes is us striving for innovation. How do you make the design shine through so that you see it and you go, that's a Camry? There are always dead ends that you hit. Could go this way, could go that way. And you have to turn around and find a better way. All the work, all the passion that went into it, it looks great.
Let's go places. Not just the ones you can find on a map, but the ones you can find in your heart. Because inspiration doesn't favor those who sit still. It dances with the daring and rewards the courageous with ideas. Ideas that inspire. Ideas that take you places you never imagined. Ideas big enough to make the heart skip a beat. And in some cases, maybe two. Toyota, let's go places.
For more than 60 years, Wrangler's been making jeans more comfortable. Wrangler jeans give you comfort where you want it. They don't cut and bind like most jeans. U-shape. It fits around you. It gives you more room where you need it. Wrangler. Real, comfortable jeans.
It balances you. It fills you with energy. And it gives you what you're looking for to live a more natural life in a convenient 2-bar pack. This is Nature Valley. Nature at its most delicious.
4 days.
4 days.
Only 4 days until the Daytona 500. Are you ready?
Yes, Mr. Harvick, we are ready. We're ready to go, but first we have a little bit of business with this Budweiser duel coming up. Before the green flag drops, NASCAR Race Day delivers the ultimate pre-race setup for a wild day of racing that sets the field for the Daytona 500. Don't miss it. And welcome back, everybody, to Daytona and NASCAR Live, presented by Toyota. Right now, let's go down to Wendy, who's standing by with a driver who spent a lot of time on top of the points last season.
He sure did, Johnny, and spending some time on top of the boards throughout this week for Speed Week's 9th in this practice session this morning, Greg. But your car is turned around in the garage stall, which means you are headed back out for practice session. Did you learn everything you wanted to, or still some more things you want to try out?
You know, we're still learning a little bit with the 3 and Ford Fusion. We're trying to, you know, put a little downforce in it, take a little out, see how it affects the speed in the car. The biggest problem is it's hard to get back into exactly that same position you were in. If you're drafting with 3 cars and now there's 5 or 7, the car acts different, and sometimes it's hard to tell. But we're just trying to get a feel now that the temperature's warmed up a little bit, just trying to see how the car's driving in traffic.
What kind of racing do you think we'll see in the Budweiser duel tomorrow?
You know, I think we're going to see the same kind of racing that we saw in the Sprint Unlimited, but a little bit different because there's going to be more cars in it. You know, there's going to be a few more cars in it. So, and guys are going to be racing for that, you know, position. So there's going to be races throughout the field versus the Unlimited was win or who cares. So this is your starting spot for the 500.
All right, well, we look forward to that tomorrow night, but no doubt practice coming up on Speed. Hermie Sadler, one driver we'll see is this one right here, Greg Biffle.
Well, another one we'll see is Bobby Labonte. And Bobby, talking to a lot of drivers in the garage, one thing I'm hearing a lot is this new car maybe gives a feel of like it was 8, 9, 10 years ago, more like the veterans used to know how to do it. Has that been your take, and how's your car been so far this week in Speed Weeks?
Yep. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, it really is. I mean, I told Bobby Hutchins that. I said, you know, it kind of feels like it used to feel like before we got all the pushing and everybody. So the car drives pretty good. That was our first drafting session today. Obviously, we didn't even test drafting the test down here in January. So car feels pretty decent. Our Kroger Toyota Camry's not bad. Made one change to it, made another drafting run, and you know, it's just gonna, it's just gonna be difficult to, you know, probably to pass. But if you get a run, you got to make sure you clear it. If not, you might lose 5 spots, like we've seen in the past here before. So, kind of excited. Just, you know, just trying to be as careful with our race car as possible for today, and then get ready for the race tomorrow.
I know we've seen a couple of incidents on the racetrack. I know drivers don't want to point fingers at other drivers, but from what you've seen on the racetrack, what can you attest to some of the issues we've had on the track with this car in Daytona?
It's probably not as stable as what I thought it would have, what I remember being several years ago, last year, obviously, and then several years before that. So, I mean, it's a little bit more nervous in the back than we've seen, than I felt before. But, really wasn't quite as bad. But, it's so hard to tell with 5 or 6, 7 cars. When you get out there with 20 cars and 40 cars, it might be it's going to elevate everything. So, it'll be interesting to see. But, it's definitely a little bit more nervous than it has been.
That's Bobby Labonte preparing for the duel here tomorrow at Daytona.
Hermie, thanks a lot. If anybody knows about these cars, it is Bobby Labonte is the number 2 car of your champion. Brad Keselowski is being pushed out on the line. We're getting closer and closer to practice. We'll get you ready when we come back.
This is a real pivot point for NASCAR. We have to get back to the cars looking like production cars. For us, in the year of launching the Fusion, to put it on the track and race against the best in the world at Daytona, that's what it's all about. This is a real special season, a special race, especially for Ford.
This is their story. Fusion Evolution. Stock returns to racing. February 24th, 12:30 p.m. Eastern on Speed.
While everyone else seems headed in the wrong direction, Ford is not just going forward, it's going further. Introducing the entirely new Ford Fusion, the most fuel-efficient mid-size hybrid sedan in America. It's an entirely new idea of what a car can be.
During the Bass Pro Shop Spring Fishing Classic, you can save up to $100 more on a new reel when you trade one in. Plus, get a free gift card worth up to $1,000 with purchase of select new Tracker and Nitro boat packages. Your adventure starts here.
Golden Corral just passed America's Family Budget Act. Right now, kids eat for just $2.99 Monday through Thursday. It's all your endless Golden Corral favorites, including our new sirloin filet and our non-stop butterfly shrimp. The $2.99 Kids Dinner Special, only at Golden Corral.
It's a mystery what goes on in the whole car buying process. Using TrueCar.com, you're able to see what a lot of other people had paid for the same car.
The TrueCar dealer was wonderful to go to because they didn't pressure us. We got in and we got out with a car that we both loved.
Yeah, the whole process was just really straightforward.
We ended up saving $3,000 off sticker price.
At TrueCar.com, just configure the car you want, print your savings certificate, and take it to a certified dealer. Guaranteed savings, a hassle-free experience. Visit TrueCar.com.
Hey, what's up? I'm Bella Thorne.
What up? This is Vinny Guadagnino.
I'm Nick Cannon.
Hi, I'm Aziz Ansari. That was your line.
You can help by joining DoSomething.org.
DoSomething.org.
That's why I'm teaming up with DoSomething.org.
Daytona, green flag in the air.
He is now on the grass, and there's some smoke. Rusty Wallace spinning, crashing.
Oh my, that he wins. It's going to be a Harrison victory. An amazing finish. He's done it again. Dale Earnhardt will win the Daytona 500. Jamie Everett. Yes!
And welcome back to NASCAR Live, presented by Toyota. A shot of where we are right now, the old Victory Lane up in the studio, and we just saw moments of families and generations of different teams and drivers and families coming together here at Daytona. And I'll bring in Dave Despain. Dave, you've been coming here for 40 years now. Do you have a moment or a memory that stands out with you?
I have several. I have many, but the thing that strikes me about Daytona is that it has always been the big stage. From the first time they opened the doors, this is the big stage, and thus this is where the big stars shine the brightest. It's those stars and the rivalries between those stars that have given me my favorite moment and my favorite memory, and they're not the same.
My favorite moment is the 76 500 finish.
Two of the great nights of NASCAR racing, jousting right down to the final.
Richard Petty and David Pearson, the two greatest names and most ferocious rivals in the sport, crashing together in a winner-take-all battle for the biggest prize in NASCAR.
They're in the wall. Petty is sliding, slamming in the wall. He's coming down toward the finish line. Pearson is still running.
He's going to win the race. He's going to win it finish. Petty, I believe, will take the checkered flag. No, he did not make it.
As they come to the stripe, the winner is car number 21.
That perfect alignment of the stars is my favorite moment. But my favorite memory over the last 4 decades? That's of another rivalry between a pair of now legendary drivers.
And Richard Petty is taking one final lap around this racetrack.
When Richard Petty retired, 2 things happened. Dale Earnhardt officially claimed the mantle as NASCAR's biggest star. And Jeff Gordon emerged from an atypical background to become the upstart challenger to the Intimidator.
You're 19, you got your whole racing life in front of you. How would you like to be remembered?
Well, hopefully down the road, that I can be a top Winston Cup driver. I want to be up there with Dale Earnhardt.
On the surface, those two could not have been more different. Earnhardt threatening, a predatory presence slouched in that black 3. Gordon, just the opposite, open and inviting, all rainbow warrior color and smiles. Earnhardt versus Gordon was both great racing.
Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt touched.
And great theater with the added oomph of historical significance.
Is this the year that youth finally overcomes experience?
Dale and Jeff personified opposite ends of the spectrum in a sport undergoing a huge transition. Earnhardt was old NASCAR, a product of the blue-collar southeastern mill town tradition that had provided stock car racing's bedrock fan base since the birth of the sport. Gordon personified the new NASCAR, a sport bound for the American mainstream, riding the rocket fuel of Fortune 500 marketing dollars. Seemingly polar opposites, their 2 personalities provided the perfect chemistry for rivalry. The opportunity for the fans to not only love their guy, but to really, really hate the other guy. For example, among Earnhardt loyalists, Gordon's win in the inaugural Brickyard 400. Hometown boy wins NASCAR's richest race on his very first try. That simply reinforced the too-good-to-be-true nature of the kid Dale called Wonder Boy.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Wonder Boy's here.
I hear him talking about me.
You talk like a little girl.
A year later, when Earnhardt won at Indy, he drove home the spike with one of the great victory lane lines ever.
I'm glad I'm the second man that won and if not the first.
While each of them well understood his role in this high horsepower drama, their rivalry was underpinned by mutual admiration. For example,
Gordon making a move on the inside of Earnhardt.
When Gordon took the air off Earnhardt's spoiler in the 97 500, it triggered one of the all-time great Intimidator moments.
There he comes. Climbing out again. Truly a remarkable American hero.
Dale climbed out of the ambulance, back into the battered black 3, and drove it back to pit lane as the adoring throng roared.
This thing is so beat up. If Earnhardt can make 1 lap or 2, it's an absolute miracle.
That incident also gave me my personal favorite Earnhardt moment. He looked at me, winked, and said, "Little SOB wrecked me and never touched me." And then he smiled. And in the eye of that man who knew a thing or two about wrecking people, I saw a look of both appreciation and respect. The kid had taught the old dog a new trick.
So we come back to Daytona 40 years after the first time. I still get a very big kick out of watching Wonder Boy. But I got to tell you, I miss the Intimidator.
Oh, yeah. And probably some of the greatest Dale Earnhardt moments happened right here at Daytona and the Daytona 500. 23 starts as you compare the two. 23 for Earnhardt, 20 for Gordon. 3 wins for Gordon, and probably one of the biggest wins, of course, of all time for Earnhardt. Happened right here. When we come back, final practice before the Budweiser duel.
Tonight on NASCAR Race Hub, we break down Daytona 500 practice. We saw cars collide and Dale Jr. blow an engine. Mike Joy and Darrell Waltrip will recap. And Steve Burns is also at the beach. We'll see you at 6 p.m. Eastern.
The Asphalt Gladiators return to racing's biggest arena for a full-throttle fight to the finish. Hard into the wall! The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series from Daytona. Friday at 7 Eastern, live on Speed.
I have low testosterone. There, I said it. How did I know? Well, I didn't really. See, I figured low testosterone would decrease my sex drive, but when I started losing energy and became moody, that's when I had an honest conversation with my doctor. We discussed all the symptoms, then he gave me some blood tests. Showed it was low T. That's it. It was a number, not just me.
Today, men with low T have Androgel 1.62% testosterone gel, the #1 prescribed topical testosterone replacement therapy. Increases testosterone when used daily. Women and children should avoid contact with application sites. Discontinue Androgel and call your doctor if you see unexpected signs of early puberty in a child or signs in a woman, which may include changes in body hair or a large increase in acne, possibly due to accidental exposure. Men with breast cancer or who have or might have prostate cancer, and women who are or may become pregnant or are breastfeeding should not use Androgel. Serious side effects include worsening of an enlarged prostate, possible increased risk of prostate cancer, lower sperm count, swelling of ankles, feet, or body, enlarged or painful breasts, problems breathing during sleep, and blood clots in the legs. Tell your doctor about your medical conditions and medications, especially insulin, corticosteroids, or medicines to decrease blood clotting.
So, what do men do when a number's too low? Turn it up.
In a clinical study, over 80% of treated men had their T levels restored to normal. Talk to your doctor about all your symptoms. Get the blood tests. Change your number. Turn it up. Androgel 1.62%.
Welcome back, everyone, to NASCAR Live. The countdown is on to the Budweiser Duel at Daytona. We are less than 24 hours away from this race that will set the grid for the 55th running of the Great American Race. We have one 90-minute practice left before that race, or that pair of races. And the question right now among all these drivers and these teams is to go out and practice or not to go out and practice. KP, a lot of people have said they've made their decision. Some people are still hedging. What do you want to do?
Oh, I know what I want to do. I want to go practice. They're in that situation. Every driver down there is in that situation where they've asked their wife out to the movie. and they want to go see, like, old school. They want to go see a brainless comedy like Dumb and Dumber. But their wife wants to go see The Notebook. So guess what? There's a lot of guys down there watching love stories right now. They're watching The Notebook because they're agreeing with what the crew chief says.
Yes.
He is guiding it right now.
You had to bring in Dumber and Dumber, didn't you?
Yeah, Dumb and Dumber, baby. They're driving it right now. Whatever the crew chief says, that's what we're going to do in this last practice.
I agree to disagree with you about that, young man, because of the fact that if the driver came in and said, hey, my car is driving well and it's balanced and I feel pretty good about it, I'm probably going to leave it there.
Have you heard any drivers say they're...
No, you haven't. I said if. Yes, we got a couple of them now. We got a couple of them right now. They're pretty happy with their rides. But the key thing right now is watching this weather. Looked out just a second ago. We're getting some clouds over this racetrack. This could be a false sense of security for a lot of these guys who make some adjustments and say, oh, the car feels really good. Guess what? Tomorrow the sun comes back out, that racetrack is going to change, and you better have a car that you can tune on and get it back like the guy needs it. You got to have it driving well. You've got to have it stable. Otherwise, this man is going to make a mistake, and we're going to have a torn-up race car. We're going to be going to a backup for the 500 whether we want to or not.
And then I'll be going to the movies.
Okay. As Kyle goes to the movie,
Dumber and Dumber.
We're going to go down to the garage for Smart and Smarter as we get Hermie Sadler and Dale Jr. Hermie?
JR just called us smart and smarter. I'm not sure which one is which. You guys are working on the engine, but not a lot of, not in a big hurry, but Steve said you guys are in great shape car-wise. Tell us how your week's been other than the engine problem.
Yeah, the car's got a lot more speed than the shootout car. The shootout car was our first rough draft of our speedway stuff. We built early in the season, early in off season, and we've learned a lot since since this car got built. So pretty happy with the speed. It was showing out there before we had the engine problem, and feel good about this motor, feel good we won't have any more issues, and we'll be able to move forward.
Does it change your outlook at all from the drivers? See, I mean, a little more work for you to do tomorrow, but does it change your game plan?
I just hate for the guys that have to put up the extra work here. We were kind of in a groove there, trying a lot of things and doing some single car runs, trying to find another tenth or two in the car, and we're going to kind of be we'll have to regroup a little bit for this second practice and what our prerogatives are and what we want to accomplish. But the guys are working hard, and everything should be fine tomorrow. We're going to have to start in the back, and we'll get to see how everything's unfolding and witness a lot of things that are happening from a unique point of view, and try to take advantage of that and move on up through there as fast as we can.
These guys are changing engines, but a really big air of confidence here in the 88 pit. Johnny?
Hermie, let's take a look at duel number 1. This will start 2 o'clock tomorrow on speed. Of course, race day before that. Danica Patrick will lead this field, Kyle.
Yeah, Dale Jr. there, and we've heard him say because of the engine change, these guys are going to have to go to the back, which will move that row up a little bit. But remember when there used to be good races and bad races?
Oh, yeah.
You always wanted to be in the first or the second. So there was a fast race and a slow race. We don't get that anymore here. These guys all the way through.
Maybe we're going to get a chance to see a little bit more of that this year. We take a look right there at Carl Edwards. A couple of guys think about Tony Stewart. He likes his race car not going out. Dale Jr. said his was pretty good. Michael Waltrip already parked for the day also. So a lot of these folks right now, even though a lot of them are not happy, there's 1 or 2 you better watch out for. If they get it right, they could be the class of the field.
Well, Wendy has some answers for us as far as the question goes. Who is practicing and who is not? Wendy?
You guys mentioned drivers and crew chiefs asking each other out on a date of sorts to go out for practice. Well, really, in this hour in between practice sessions, it was crew chief to crew chief here in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series garage, negotiating who was going out, who wasn't. Matt Pusha, the crew chief for Greg Biffle, was looking for about 5 cars to go out with in this practice session, and I think he succeeded. The guy behind me, Jeff Gordon, will be heading out in this practice session, along with a list of Joey Logano, Jeff Burton, Carl Edwards going out with his fixed machine, Marcus Ambrose, and Eric Almirola. When I talked to the 99 crew chief, Jimmy Finning, they had that damage in the first practice session. I said, how many laps do you want to get in the second practice session? And Jimmy said in reference to Carl, we just want to get more than 8 laps that we've had for Speed Week. So many teams with different agendas, but the good news is the crew chiefs that want to gather data are going to be able to do that in this practice session. Johnny?
Well, Wendy, a couple of Jeff Gordon's teammates are planning to get out there and do some work. 5-time champion Jimmy Johnson making his way to his race car, as well as number 5 driver Casey Kane. They still have work to do, and so do we. We'll be back with a little bit more NASCAR Live here on Speed, and then it's practice time.
NASCAR Live is presented by Toyota. Let's go places. Brought to you in part by Allstate. Are you in good hands? And by the one and only Cheerios.
Thursday, NASCAR's biggest stars return to the World Center of Racing, where the fight to make the 500 is on. The Budweiser Duel at Daytona, Thursday, live at 2 Eastern, only on Speed.
At Camping World, we feature the best RV products at the best prices to fit your lifestyle.
With over 40,000 happy RV buyers, we're different from the others.
No gimmicks, no games.
Rock bottom pricing on everything, including pop-ups.
New travel trailer was $17,000, now as low as $125 a month. New motorhome was $63,000, now as low as $399 a month.
Plus, ask about our first-time buyer program.
Look, it's simple. We will beat any dealer's price. We guarantee it.
We have everything you'll ever need at Camping World.
They love their RVs for different reasons, but everyone here agrees. RVing is the best way to express your personality and enjoy a race weekend.
Outside entertainment center.
He's got a double refrigerator.
We bring everything. Easy storage. Got plenty of room to put all my stuff underneath.
Hot food, loud music, fast cars. We both have motorcycles and we can park those inside.
RVing's the way to go.
If you walk up and down here, you will see some of the most bizarre stuff.
You have to experience this in an RV.
Find your way. Go RVing.
Welcome to Cook It Safe Challenge, where teams compete to make the right decision about safe food preparation. Our challenge in this round, oven or microwave. To win, teams must use the proper steps for safe meal preparation, read and follow package cooking instructions, and know when to use the conventional oven or the microwave. You're on the clock, so make your decisions quickly, but be warned, make the wrong choice and your meal will be unsafe. Sorry, Team 2, an unwise choice. Check the cooking instructions on that package you ripped open so quickly.
Dude, what?
Microwaves and conventional ovens both have a purpose. Your challenge was to cook the dish safely. This means knowing which method of cooking to use and you failed.
We failed to read and follow the package cooking instructions and use a conventional oven.
If you don't follow cooking instructions, some foods may be hot but may not have reached a safe internal temperature. Use a food thermometer to be sure.
We kept focus on reading and following the package cooking instructions.
And we used a conventional oven and a food thermometer.
Can you cook it safe?
Welcome back, everyone. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for duel number 2. That, of course, will be led by Jeff Gordon, who will start on the front row with Danica Patrick for the 500. And like you said, Kyle, there's a lot of strong cars in the front of that field.
A lot of strong cars in both of these races. As we go back, and I think they take the top 15.
Yep.
Is what they take out of these things. And you think, oh, all I got to do is finish in the top 15? Easier said than done in one of these races.
You're definitely going to have to get up on the wheel and make it happen. We've already seen that David Reagan starting deep in the field. He can make his way up through there, feel like he's got a strong horse, and can get it done.
Good to see Terry Labonte out there, J.J. Yaley, Dave Blaney, his teammate right next to him. And there is a flurry of activity in the garage area as drivers like Ricky Stenhouse get ready to go out and see what their machines will do out in the draft.
I know he's looking for somebody to draft with, but here's one guy I'd be a little bit leery of right now. If you think about it, he may be running with his teammate Carl Edwards. We were talking during the break. Carl right now has been involved in 4 crashes here at Daytona so far since the beginning of testing in January.
See that 99? Stay at home.
That's it.
All right. Stay with us, everybody. We got practice coming your way. Let's send it right now to Mike Joy.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Series practice is ready to roll. Second of 2 practice sessions on track this afternoon, and they begin to come out in small numbers from the garage. Casey Kane, Greg Biffle, rolling through the garage toward pit road. Trevor Baines, number 21, and coming out of inspection as Dave Blaney's car rolls in. The first practice session was eventful. First, Brad Keselowski's car shut off. It was either a fuel pickup or fuel delivery problem. And then Mark Martin under repair from the 3-car wreck. Matt Kenseth flat spotted a tire. Dale Jr. lost an engine. Ryan Newman's car with a lot of work being done on it. Jeff Gordon now rolling out. Carl Edwards and Marcus Ambrose along with Jamie McMurray lining up for practice.
Yeah, Carl Edwards, a little bit of damage in that crash earlier, and Jeff Gordon, the 24, did not run that first practice. Danica Patrick, you see her pulling out of the garage, our pole sitter. She only ran a few laps there at the end of that practice session.
All right, down to the garage, Chris Devoto.
Mike, just want to give you a little bit more information on that 2-car and Brad Keselowski. You mentioned the fuel system issue. I just spoke with the team. They said when Brad did go back out and made that second run, once they changed all the fuel pickup parts, they were able to get a good long run in, and they did not find any more issues with that. The hood is up on the car right now. They're just checking things out. And one other thing, at the end of practice, we saw Brad come in hot on pit road. They said that was actually on purpose. They said at the super speedway races, they always do that, have him come in hot so that he can check the brakes and make sure they're equal. So no issues right now with this number 2. To Steve Burns.
Well, thank you, Krista. Kevin Harvick got a big win Saturday night in the Sprint Unlimited. That car went back to the team shop in Welcome, North Carolina, got cleaned up, and it is now in the back of the team's transporter. That is the backup car for the Daytona 500. This car will not hit the racetrack in practice. Crew Chief Gil Martin said, we're going to be safe. We're going to leave it here in the garage. He said, Kevin Harvick said in the first practice today, the car was solid, the same way it felt Saturday night. So better safe than sorry for the 2019.
And Mike, look at all those checklists on the side of that race car. That's the number of items that they will go over before that car hits the racetrack.
Yeah, every crew member is assigned a certain part of that, and as they check that item, they check it off and actually put their initials by it.
65 degrees. Thought we were going to break 70 today. Didn't quite get there.
Yeah, it got a little cloudy actually over what it was earlier, a little overcast now. That changes everything.
Still partly sunny as we look at Lake Lloyd. Some big fish in there. 7 cars drafting along. Casey Kane in front, Danica Patrick at the back of that group.
Yeah, Casey Kane in the blue number 5 there, who's leading this pack. He was the only Hendrick driver to actually run in a pack in that first practice session. As I mentioned, Jeff Gordon, the 24, didn't even go out.
Now, as expected, as we look at the speed chart, everybody in the front and middle of that pack running exactly the same speed, but the cars toward the rear able to move up, take advantage of the draft, and have a little bit faster time. So Danica Patrick has the fastest speed of this one lap of practice so far.
And Darrell, the way I see it, the drivers, their teams, the crew chiefs, you're in a little bit of a box. You know, our conventional wisdom, we're going to come down here and practice every time the track's open. I want to see you in the middle of the pack, at the top of the racetrack, at the bottom of the racetrack. Seems like that wisdom and that thought process has had to change just a little bit.
Yeah, Larry, and there's so much at stake, and it's a gamble. And you've got to weigh out, is it worth the risk and the risk reward, and what am I going to gain if I go out there in this kind of condition? And we've seen so many accidents that everybody's kind of on pins and needles every time the cars go on the racetrack. Is something going to happen again, and am I going to be involved in it?
And it's not inexperienced drivers. It's not semi-funded teams. The best drivers and teams in the sport are the ones that are getting caught up in these collisions.
And I think those are the guys with the habits, things that they've always done. Well, I've always done that. Well, I've always been able to do this. That may have to change based on what I'm seeing.
Found it interesting what Clint Boyer told us in that first practice. It's the first time I think we've actually heard that. He said, for whatever reason, you've got more of a blind spot in the left rear of this race car than what he could remember. And he didn't really know why. He just knew it existed.
I think our best analogy was, Mike, is when you get in a car you've never driven before, a passenger car, a rental car, and everything's different. The switches are different. The mirrors are different. The size of the mirrors are different. That's where this race car is. Everything is different.
I've been here a week. I'm still trying to figure out how to cut the dome lights on in my rental car.
I'm still trying to get mine to quit talking to me. I know I am not in the construction zone. I don't need to hear that anymore. I'm getting there, though.
Some would say that's payback.
Well, yeah, it could be. I'm going to talk to Siri about it.
Let me know what she says. 8 cars on track, drafting along. A couple other single car runs. And Mr. Lonely.
Lonely.
And this is
Mr. Lonely.
This is according to plan. Chad Knaus does not want Jimmy Johnson in traffic.
I ain't got nobody to
That's the way they've done it here before. That's the way they're doing it again.
And we really thought that would change, but it's not changed. The only time he is drafted throughout testing, throughout speed weeks, was actually in the Sprint Unlimited. And oh, by the way, he was one of 7 drivers caught up in that crash on lap 15. Ran a total of 23 laps in that first practice, every one of them in this exact configuration. But I think Darrell touched on part of it. They have the data to look at off of Jeff Gordon, off of Casey Kane. But also, they have a lot more data to look at from their own race car with the way the ECU box and the electronic fuel injection, the information it gives them.
Yeah, I like what they can do nowadays with the, with the information they can get from the car. Things that we never could. We had to rely totally on the driver. And now you can not only listen to what the driver's telling you, but you can back it up with some data from what they can, get out of the race car, which is very, very helpful.
However, data is not feel. And I'm not questioning Chad Knaus' strategy, but look back. How many laps did Jimmy Johnson last in last year's 500?
1 1/8.
Right.
Maybe they should have shared their data with the guy that they got in trouble with, and he wouldn't have gotten in trouble.
Second round of Sprint Cup practice today. Casey Kane is quickest.
I don't like this.
Let's go places. Not just the ones you can find on a map, but the ones you can find in your heart. Because inspiration doesn't favor those who sit still. It dances with the daring and rewards the courageous with ideas. Ideas that inspire. Ideas that take you places you never imagined. Ideas big enough to make the heart skip a beat. And in some cases, maybe 2. Toyota, let's go places.
showed me a map of my feet, and it gave me my custom number.
My arches needed more support until I got my number at the free Dr. Scholl's Foot Mapping Center. I'm a believer, and you will be too.
Learn where to find your number at drscholes.com.
For more than 60 years, Wrangler's been making jeans more comfortable. Wrangler jeans give you comfort where you want it. They don't cut and bind like most jeans. U-shape. It fits around you. It gives you more room where you need it. Wrangler. Real, comfortable jeans.
4-speed manual transmission, 850 horsepower, 1 bucket seat, 0 to 160 in 8 seconds. Oh, yeah. That baby will do.
Any questions?
I take it for a test drive.
You ever driven one of these things? I'll get the keys.
She don't take keys.
Speech presentation of Sprint Cup final practice from Daytona, presented by Toyota. Let's go places. And brought to you by Sprint. Millions of fans, one family. Only Sprint can feed them all. Join the family at sprint.com/speed. And by Sonic. The all-new foot-long lineup from Sonic is here. Get one with tots for $3.99.
I'll tell you one thing, Mike, Larry, that 10 car, not only was it fast to win the pole, it's fast out there amongst these other cars. She drove by all of them, run up here behind McMurray. She has got some giddy up in the car there. Everything goes down that back straightaway.
And I can't help but think back to 2 years ago, Trevor Bayne, who won the Daytona 500, and only his second start on the Sprint Cup Series. You're just poking me. What's going on out there?
Look who her drafting partner is, man. They've hooked up here and they're ready to run together.
We're so excited.
I was. Well, I didn't know if I'd ever see them, get out there and practice and get the chance to be together or not.
He knows she has a fast race car, that 10 car.
Probably knows she's on TV, too.
Now, as this group came up on a car that was getting up to speed and trying to find a way in line, here's what happened as the 93 of Travis Kvapil tried to get in there, and what is fast?
Honestly, he tried to slot in.
They're screaming at him up here.
What an idiot.
Well, the fast became furious.
But you could hear her roll out of the throttle, Darrell. She definitely had the presence of mind to see what was about to go on and what was happening there, it appears.
Yeah. I'd say that, based on everything that's going on, I mean, she's probably a little edgy like we are. She's probably a little edgy about being out there running with other cars herself.
Who wouldn't be? Look what is at stake. She is the only car in this group that is locked into a spot for the Daytona 500. She will start from the pole if she keeps this car intact.
I know one thing, she's run enough laps, and she's been in a number of situations here. She's passed a bunch of cars. I don't know that I can just keep running this thing or not. I think she's got 12 laps. When it starts getting around 12, 15 laps, that's when we've seen trouble out of these cars. Bring that thing to pit road now.
I think that's what she is doing as we speak. But what I was saying a while ago, go back 2 years ago, Trevor Bayne making only his second Sprint Cup Series start here in the Daytona 500. Everyone realized, Jeff Gordon in particular, he had a fast race car. He became Trevor Bayne's friend, and it was all said and done. We know who was celebrating in victory lane that weekend.
And I believe the same thing with somebody's going to say, Danica, your car, it's just like Trevor Bayne. You got a fast car. I'm going to work with you. I'm going to help you out. And it might be Jeff Gordon.
The easy math says she has a 1 in 43 chance of winning the Daytona 500. That's how many cars will start. But she has a better car than probably half the field, which brings her odds to, let's say, 1 in 20. And we've seen in qualifying, she drives a tight line and doesn't take too many unnecessary chances, and that may elevate her odds further.
Don't forget, I truly believe this is maybe it is her best racetrack.
Out here in the winds, I have to know the weather patterns. I upgraded to the new Sprint Direct Connect so I can get 3 times the coverage.
It's like working in a giant sandbox with all these huge toys. And with the fastest push to talk, I can keep track of them all.
Upgrade to the new Done. With access to the fastest push-to-talk and 3 times the coverage. Now when you buy one Kyocera Dura XT rugged phone for $69.99, you'll get 4 free. Other offers available. Visit a Sprint store or call 855-8784-BIZ.
Stupid, slow, dirty PC.
You know, you really should clean it up and speed it up at mycleanpc.com.
Is your computer running slow? What if you could fix it while you were online? Now you can. Just go to mycleanpc.com for your free diagnosis today. Then just activate the mycleanpc.com software to fix it in minutes. And computer specialists are available while you're online. Get rid of pop-ups and junk files. Boost your PC startup time. Even prevent annoying errors, screen freezes, and crashes.
The best thing about mycleanpc.com was it had a free diagnosis.
You know immediately what the problem is, and the problem is solved right then and there.
My computer is 100% faster. My Clean PC works.
Download your free diagnosis today at mycleanpc.com. That's mycleanpc.com.
Before the green flag waves on the Budweiser Duel tomorrow, turn to speed for a special weekday edition of NASCAR Race Day. Our experts deliver the ultimate setup to set the field for the Daytona 500 tomorrow, 1 Eastern, right here on Speed. Brad Keselowski out for another run along with Josh Wise and Carl Edwards. Jimmy Johnson coming back out. Teammates Eric Almirola and Marcus Ambrose drafting together. About a dozen cars scattered around the racetrack right now. Let's go back to the first of these 2 practice sessions. Ryan Newman's car gets loose. Carl Edwards comes up the hill just a little. Contact. Mark Martin's involved also. 3 cars with relatively minor damage. Let's get an update on repairs. Krista.
Thanks, Mike. Yes, the 39 team here in the garage, and you can see them feverishly working to get some of that cosmetic damage fixed on the 39. Ryan told us it wasn't really that bad, but when you ask these guys, it's a lot of work for them. They've been working ever since that incident took place, and here's the thing. They are going to try to get out there in this practice session. That is crew chief Matt Borland's plan. They said if they can get this cosmetic work done, they think it'll take them about 30 more minutes before they can get out there. On the other side of the coin, Carl Edwards is out on the racetrack right now. When he comes in, he plans on being done for the day. They said they've had enough.
You know, they can take that car. You always worry about any frame damage or anything getting tweaked or moved around her, but they can take that thing over there now and run it through that laser machine, and they'll know exactly if that frame has been bent or tweaked or anything else, which that's a big plus too.
First year we've had that.
Carl Edwards, second fastest Ford in this session after 17 minutes of practice. Greg Biffle, quickest Ford, second overall.
And I think that's a big story this weekend here with this new Ford car. Unlike a year ago, Fords didn't show a lot of speed in qualifying. You know, they swept the front row a year ago, Carl Edwards and Greg Biffle. We only had 4 Fords qualify in the top 15, but Biffle looked awfully good in the Sprint Unlimited. Are they going to have that speed for the race tomorrow, and especially on Sunday?
Yeah, one thing I liked about Biffle's car in the Unlimited, didn't seem to have the speed, but man, that thing could go. He could go anywhere with it. He could push. He could get pushed. He could run middle, high, low. His car looked like it really worked well. And of course, we know he's going to drive the wheels off of it.
Yes, he will.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. looking on as he lost an engine in practice.
Sound like they got that new one in there and got it running.
Now, he's in the first Budweiser Duel race tomorrow. He was slated to start 6th outside of the 3rd row. The way the rules work, he will have to go with the rear of the field for the Duel, not for the Daytona 500.
Which, I mean, you know, you can be in the front in 5 laps.
And we outlined in one earlier scenario that if Junior's going to start last in his Duel, should he finish last in his Duel and a whole bunch of other stars line up with people taking speed positions and provisional positions and champions provision, there is one scenario in which the 88 would miss the Daytona 500. However, looking at the group, the chances of Dale not being in the race are 0. One way or another. Danica Patrick, Trevor Bayne, Chevy Ford front row for Budweiser Duel #1 ahead of Stewart, Hamlin, Logano, and then Casey Mears, and the rest of that outside lane would move up because of Earnhardt's engine change. Michael Waltrip quickest in the earlier practice this afternoon.
You know, Mike, I think it bears repeating. The reason that scenario exists for the first time in several years, that top 35 rule is gone. Of course, it's a little different here in Daytona, the way the qualifying works. But now, when we go to Phoenix and Las Vegas, it's the fastest 36 drivers that take those top 36 spots. Then we have the provisionals for the higher drivers in owner points.
I talked to Tommy Baldwin and my brother last night. We were having dinner, and it's like Tommy and Michael said, yeah, there's only 2 cars going to miss this race. I just don't want to be one of them.
Exactly.
Jeff Gordon, Ryan Newman on the front row for Duel #2. Casey Kane, Kyle Busch, Kenseth and Stenhouse, Menard, and rookie Austin Dillon. And a look back through the field here. 22 cars in Budweiser Duel #2. The first 16 finishers, not including Jeff Gordon, who's already earned the front row, will earn positions on the outside of the next 15 rows for the 500.
And you know what? After the first duel, people may know who's locked in and who's not.
Pretty much.
The picture
Darryl,
becomes a lot clearer.
Yes.
Yeah. J.J. Yaley in the 36, one of those drivers who needs a good finish tomorrow to be assured of a spot in the race. Trevor Bayne will be in the 500. He has one of the 4 fastest qualifying speeds, not on the front row, so he knows he will have at least that to fall back on. But Yaley, driving one of the 2 Tommy Baldwin cars, didn't have a great time trial. He's going to have to work to race his way in.
But you think about Trevor Bayne, the winner 2 years ago in that 21 car, locked in the Wood brothers. 55 Daytona 500s coming this Sunday. They would have participated in 52 of the 55. And we know they've been a part of all 6 generations of race cars that we've had now.
"21 minutes of practice so far. 3 Chevys, 2 Fords in the Fast 5. Kane, Biffle, Gordon, Patrick, and Edwards.
I hate that cable only lets us record 2 shows at once.
Me too. Cable's worse than...
Not being able to record all our shows at once is more annoying than...
We need to upgrade to DirecTV and get the new Genie. She lets you record 5 shows at once.
I want DirecTV more than...
Record 5 shows at once with the new DirecTV Genie. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
Now, don't forget to say TaxSlayer.com. It's quick and easy, and it's free to start. Emphasize the word free. Just put a smile on your face. You'll be great. TaxSlayer TV commercial. Take one. Say something, man.
File your taxes for free with TaxSlayer.com.
This is not good. Cut.
When you open up an Audible audiobook, it opens up your imagination. Enjoy a steamy romance while you're ironing the sheets. Discover an historic battle while battling the bulge at the gym. Fantasy novels might just bring a little magic to your minivan. Open one of 100,000 titles for free. And our Great Listen Guarantee means if you're not happy, you can exchange any title for another, no questions asked. Visit audible.com/free trial right now to download 2 books free.
Legends end up here. But they start here.
500 brutal miles.
The Daytona 500, Sunday on Fox.
Welcome back to Sprint Cup Series practice presented by Toyota. This is final practice for tomorrow's Budweiser Duel. 20 of the 45 drivers here have already been out on track. Quite a number of cars covered up in the garage after what they learned in session 1 or early in this session. And we've just learned Danica Patrick has climbed out of her car and is done for the day. Ready to race in tomorrow's Budweiser Duel. Steve Burns.
With the old man, Tony Gibson, that's what he calls everybody. We know that by now. I know you got to go to work with Danica and debrief with her. Are you guys done for this practice session?
Yeah, we're all done. The GoDaddy Chevy SS is really fast. She got at the back of that long 7 or 8 car pack there, and just trying to feel the car out. We got out a little bit on the first practice with a 3 or 4 car deal, and we made some changes. The car was a little bit on the free side, side by side, so we made some changes. Second practice, it was locked down solid, and she said that, you know, being on the inside, outside of somebody, it was really stable and had good speed. So we made a 14 or 15 lap run right there, so we feel real happy with it. She's got confidence in it, so we don't want to roll the dice. It gets crazy out there, so we just trying to preserve our car and keep everybody fresh and keep the laps off our motors, So I just want to thank everybody at GoDaddy and Stuart Haas Racing, Hendrick Motorsports. So far it's been a great weekend, and we can't do it without all those people, and you know, it's and all the guys that work on this car. So it's been a good week. We're going to try to continue on and try to get a girl in victory lane here.
All right, good luck, Tony. Hey, and Mike, just want to let you know she has done 7.5 hours of media since winning the pole position Sunday, including an interview with the London Daily Telegraph.
It's big news worldwide.
Yes, it is. All I know is every time I switch around from one channel to another, whether it's Fox News or whatever, they've been talking about her being on the pole here for this race this week.
Well, and good for the sport, Darrell. It's
right.
Unprecedented that a woman is on the pole for a major NASCAR race. That has never happened in the 65-plus year history of the sport. And for it to be the biggest race of the year is even bigger news.
She's on the pole for a week. Most weekends happens
right.
on Friday afternoon or Saturday at noon. We get to talk about it for about a day or a day and a half. Darrell, I found it interesting something Tony Gibson said right there, and you and I were talking about this in practice on Saturday. They only ran twice in that practice session. When they started today, they only had about 8 to 10 laps total on that engine. He mentioned it. Let's keep this engine fresh, because we know the more you run it, it just kind of knocks the edge off that engine.
Yeah, again, Larry, I mentioned earlier in our first practice how temperamental and how special these engines are. The parts and pieces in the restrictor plate engine are a little bit different than what we run on a normal racetrack. Plus, you got to remember something. Those sustained RPM around this joint. We used to turn our engines here about 7,000, 7,200. And now they're turning these things 85, 84, 85, 8,600. That's a lot of RPM for a 500-mile race.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon rolling out on the track to participate in final practice for tomorrow's Budweiser Duel.
How advanced is the new Ford Fusion? Well, it has outstanding performance and handling, and it offers a plug-in hybrid that gets a projected 100 mpge. Of course, there's still one thing it can't do. Introducing the entirely new Ford Fusion. It's an entirely new idea of what a car can be.
There's a new class of hardest working, smoothest riding. It's got the most torque, the smoothest suspension, the best storage, class-leading comfort, and a revolutionary collection of versatile accessories. It's built on everything we've learned creating the world's best-selling utility side-by-sides. Introducing the all-new 60-horsepower Ranger XP 900, a whole new class of hardest working, smoothest riding.
The General gives over 1 million online car insurance quotes every year.
It only takes a couple of minutes. That's fast.
They do have great low rates.
And it's completely anonymous.
And the General's customer satisfaction rating is 97%.
Affordable car insurance from the General. Get a free quote right now and choose your own due date.
For a great low rate you can get online, go to the General and save some time.
Son,
I need you to get these 10 Toyotas up to Loudon by July 14th. New Hampshire Motor Speedway is giving them away, part of the Toyota Wheel and Deal pre-race show.
Yes, sir. Ready, pork chop? Loudon, here we come.
Can't wait for the heart-pounding, foot-to-the-floor NASCAR racing action to return to New Hampshire's Magic Mile? Then buy your tickets now for the July 14th New Hampshire 300 for your chance to win one of 10 new Toyotas and lots more. The $250,000 Toyota Wheel and Deal pre-race show where the fans are the winners.
World's toughest trucks, High Bank Super Speedway, opening night of the season. Oh boy. This Friday night, it's the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series live on Speed, presented by DirecTV.
There, you ever hear John King?
I didn't until about a year ago.
I didn't either. That was amazing what he did in that truck race last year.
Here's Krista.
Thanks, Mike. In the garage with Carl Edwards, who got 13 laps, 13-lap run in. Not as much practice as you would like because of that incident earlier. Is it enough to know what you need?
I think so. We noticed Chip Bolin, actually, one of the smart guys at Roush, he noticed that we'd only made it about 8 laps in every practice, and that's when we met disaster. So 13 was a pretty big deal for us. The guys did a great job. Will Gentz and all the guys got together and got this car put back together just so we could run some laps in this practice to feel a longer run out. And we feel pretty comfortable with it. We don't plan on going back out.
I know you were concerned a little bit, the cloud cover, was it a true test with what we're going to have tomorrow in the race? Is it?
I don't think it is. I think tomorrow, with the sun being out and the high temperatures, I think the cars are going to move around a lot more. I think you're going to see wedge wrenches and lots of stuff, flying on pit road. So we just hope we can get this Fastenal Fusion up to the front, have a good race tomorrow, make it through in one piece. The guys have worked way too hard on this car. We've definitely put the guys to work. They've done a great job, and hopefully we don't crash anything the rest of the week.
All right, thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Krista. Jeff Gordon, who did not participate in the earlier practice session, works his way underneath his Hendrick Chevrolet teammate, Dale Earnhardt Jr. That's Michael McDowell right behind Gordon. In the 98, then Trevor Bayne.
What you're seeing right here is the reason I've told people all week long when they say, who do you like? Honestly, a driver that cranks his engine on Sunday. You're looking at Jeff Gordon qualified 2nd. Dale Earnhardt Jr. qualified 11th. Those other 5 drivers qualified 34th or worse on Sunday, but look at them now in a pack. Think back to a year ago, the track doesn't get repaired. Dave Blaney in that 7 car, he's the winner of the 2012 Daytona 500.
You're right, Larry, but there's a big why to why these cars are working each other over so hard in the draft. Because they qualified that far back, excepting Jeff Gordon and Trevor Bayne, they're going to be racing each other tomorrow to try to get into the Daytona 500. They're trying to find out what they've got and what they're going to be up against.
Now, these are the guys that need to practice. I mean, they need it to help them make their cars better, make them drive better, make them run better, because as we watch these guys, these cars are nervous. They're moving around quite a bit more than some of the other groups we've watched. So these are the guys that are going to come back in and say, man, I don't know, getting traffic, whatever, I need some help. And that's the good thing.
Car that just went to the back of the line is Mike Bliss, and he is in that same boat of having to race his way in.
That's the only way he gets in, because he was next to the slowest driver of the 45 here in qualifying on Sunday.
So only 3 drivers did not go out in the first session, and all 3 of them are on track right now. J.J. Yaley in the 36.
And I mentioned something the other day. I was talking about Trevor Bayne a couple of years ago when Jeff Gordon really just gave him a shot of confidence by confirming, hey, kid, you got a fast car and you seem to know what you're doing. I think I'll run with you. When you're out here with Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr. and you're able to hang with these guys, that's a vote of, it gives you a little bit more confidence, puts a little pep in your step. Hey, we ran some laps with Jeff Gordon. Hey, we ran some laps with Dale Jr. And they know their car is capable if they can just hang in there all day or not.
It's one of the themes we go through every year at Speed Weeks. 2 drivers obviously will have to load up and go home after the Budweiser duel. You start this race on Sunday, combined with what you make tomorrow, it's worth a little over $250,000 to a race team. For drivers like Michael McDowell and Tommy Baldwin Racing, that is a big chunk of their budget right there if they can make this race.
Sure. McDowell drives for Phil Parsons. That's the K-Love car, the black car. Mike Curb Records, also part of that organization. And they had, I think 3 weeks ago, for the 2013 season, they had one car because the development of this platform and these bodies took so long. For December, a lot of fabricators didn't have a lot to do, and then suddenly January is a flurry of activity. And when you're a small team with only a few people to build these cars, not a lot of time to get things done. But they're here, they're ready to race.
Yeah.
They're trying to make the race.
There's two things that teams, these smaller teams particularly, would like to accomplish here. One, take home some good prize money. Making the race will make that happen. And take home a car that's in one piece. Because that way you don't have to build another one. That money that you won, you can put that toward next week and the next week, not the next restrictor plate race.
Just one more note about Michael McDowell. Last year, he raced his way in by finishing 6th in his dual race.
At the other end of the garage from that group, Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Well, and also, we're talking about running with them. That didn't last too long because when Dale Jr. and Jeff Gordon got hooked up here, they sort of went off and left those other guys. 190 mile an hour, 8,400 RPM, just locked right there. Let's see what he does in the turn here. Should drop off maybe 200 RPM at the most. That's what you like to see. Speed-wise, probably not much at all, but maybe 100 or so RPM.
Boy, it didn't hardly move. I know we're only really in 100 increments there, but it may have dropped 50 or 75. But you heard the engine labor just a little bit when he turned that steering wheel.
Yeah, see, and now he's getting a nice pull down the front here. Big, long front straightaway up to 8,500 and up to 194, almost 195 miles an hour. And again, that car is nice and free through the corner. It's not bogging it down, getting a nice smooth run through the turn.
We did see a little more RPM earlier in the week, but the ambient temperature was much cooler. And just make more power with cool air.
Well, and the other thing is, even though he's running behind Jeff Gordon, there is a little headwind down the back straightaway and a little tailwind where you saw that additional RPM going into turn 1.
You see that pair right there? 27 combined wins at Daytona International Speedway for Junior and Jeff.
We built the Toyota Tundra like you would. You wouldn't give it just any old V8. Yours would have a crankshaft strong enough to take on the heaviest jobs. And you'd make sure your truck's got front brakes you can trust. Bigger than any other half-ton. Now that's real stopping power. The overbuilt Tundra. Toyota, let's go places.
Nationwide is on your side. I've been saying that for years, but why should you believe it? Well, the Earnhardt family's been trusting Nationwide Insurance for more than 30 years.
They protected the Jarrett family for 40 years. And Nationwide Insurance puts members first because they don't have shareholders.
In fact, they've been protecting the NASCAR family of drivers, teams, and fans for more than 60 years.
Just goes to show you, this is a family business. To join the nation, call 877-NATIONWIDE. Nationwide is on your side.
Ah, collector car, you've got the life. Our owner picks perfect days for your drives. Me, he runs rain or shine day after day. What am I, a machine? Good thing he feeds me well with new stable ethanol treatment. It removes water and prevents corrosion caused by today's ethanol fuels. Even cleans my fuel system. I feel like I can run forever. Nothing's gonna dampen my enthusiasm. My tires? Maybe. But not my enthusiasm.
Love that new car smell.
A busy speed week right here on Speed. Tomorrow, Camping World Truck Series practice, the Budweiser Duel, and more Truck Series practice. Friday, 2 rounds of Sprint Cup Series practice. Camping World Truck Series qualifying and the race Friday at 7 Eastern. And then on Saturday, final practice for the Daytona 500, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Michelle Pennzoil Ford, Joey Logano has just come back out for a second run. He's made a total of 7 laps.
Seeing more and more of this. We've talked about Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus, the 48 team, doing it, but we're seeing it with a lot of teams. Here's Brad Keselowski. But if you go back to the first practice, I think they're just trying to make sure that they have no fuel delivery issues, no fuel pump issues, because they did encounter that in that first practice.
The fastest driver in this second practice is with Steve Burns.
Casey Kane, Mike, among those who are done for the day, what'd you learn about your race car today, Casey, in both practices?
Well, our biggest thing was just the closing. You can close pretty quick on the car in front of you, but then it kind of stalls out. And that's probably my biggest problem in the Saturday night show. So we just kept working on that. I feel like that final run there was the best that we'd been. When you get there, it doesn't stall out as much. So, should be able to pass easier and push a little more. Bump, at least bump. Not a whole lot of pushing going on, but definitely some bumping going on. And but yeah, our whole Farmers Insurance Chevrolet, the guys are doing a great job, and we made some gains.
Typically when we come down here, Casey, it's not the fastest car that wins the race. It's the driver or the team that has the most stable or comfortable car. Are you getting to that point?
Well, I think the stability, you're going to need it. 82 degrees or 80 degrees on Sunday. Sunny out, it might, there might be some handling. So it'll be, the race may play into handling. And so we're making sure our car handles really well. Drafts up, sucks up as good as possible. And myself, I learned a lot in the I don't know, what's it called? The Sprint Unlimited?
Unlimited, yeah.
Sprint Unlimited on Saturday night. So hopefully I can take some of that, put more together tomorrow in the 150s. And, because making the right decision at the right time is key to getting a good result at the 500.
Thanks for your time, Casey.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Steve Letarte and Dale Jr. talk it over.
Mike, Darrell, I certainly will confirm this, but I've told people all week, we come down here, we're here for a week and a half, we're going to run 200 laps, 500 miles. You can have that car handling perfect. You can be making great horsepower. Your strategy can be spot on. Your pit stops can be flawless. It could come down to the right or wrong decision that your driver makes on that final lap with the checker flags waving on Sunday.
Oh, there's no question about that. If you think back to the Unlimited, just think about Kevin Harvick. If he hadn't moved when he did and blocked Greg Biffle when he did, Biffle could have easily won that race. He had to run, but Harvick made the right move at the right time, and he was able to hold him off. But how many times have we seen, and I don't know if this car is going to be this way or not, but the last couple of years down here, when you come off turn 4, the race is on, baby.
Yes, it is.
I mean, you jump out and get that side draft, get up on that door, and you don't know who's going to be the first one back to the line here.
Well, I think it happened with this young man back in 2010 when he won the 500.
Certainly. And back to the Sprint Unlimited. If Kevin Harvick makes that final move a 1/10 of a second later, he and Greg Biffle and half the field pile up.
Half the field? There wasn't but 9 or 12.
Oh, yeah.
This camera right here will give us a shot. I think we're really going to enjoy Sunday and seeing the end of the Daytona 500. The cars coming down here, and I guarantee you they won't be by themselves like that.
No, sir.
42 minutes into final practice for the Budweiser duel. Casey Kane fastest, Greg Biffle, Jeff Gordon, Danica Patrick, Carl Edwards.
Chances are you're not made of money, so don't overpay for motorcycle insurance. Geico. See how much you could save.
The
machine showed me a map of my feet, and it gave me my custom number.
My arches needed more support until I got my number at the free Dr. Scholl's Foot Mapping Center. I'm a believer, and you will be too.
Go to drscholls.com to find your closest Walmart with a foot mapping center.
Can you hear it? Fueling the American spirit. No matter when, no matter where, Marathon will take you there.
Welcome to Cook It Safe Challenge, where teams compete to make the right decision about safe food preparation. Our challenge in this round, oven or microwave. To win, teams must use the proper steps for safe meal preparation, read and follow package cooking instructions, and know when to use the conventional oven or the microwave. You're on the clock, so make your decisions quickly, but be warned, make the wrong choice and your meal will be unsafe. Sorry, Team 2, an unwise choice. Check the cooking instructions on that package you ripped open so quickly.
Dude, what?
Microwaves and conventional ovens both have a purpose. Your challenge was to cook the dish safely. This means knowing which method of cooking to use, and you failed.
We failed to read and follow the package cooking instructions and use a conventional oven.
If you don't follow cooking instructions, some foods may be hot but may not have reached a safe internal temperature. Use a food thermometer to be sure.
We kept focus on reading and following the package cooking instructions.
And we used the conventional oven and the food thermometer.
Can you cook it safe?
Questions?
I take it for a test drive.
You ever driven one of these things?
What could be better than a foot-long hot dog? How about 4 of them? Announcing the all-new foot-long lineup from Sonic, featuring the Chicago, American, the New York dog, and the chili cheese coney. Get one with tots for just $3.99. All right, before the Twitter feed blows up, Jimmy Johnson's DNF in the 500 along with Danica Patrick last year had nothing to do with their practice strategy. Johnson got run into and got turned, and there was a pileup. Those things are going to happen. But we'll see tomorrow how Jimmy Johnson's car runs in the pack and drafts. And in the Sprint Unlimited, that yellow themed car did not fare well for long.
Look at these
Since
numbers.
Jimmy's 2006 win, look at those finishes. Glad your stock portfolio doesn't look like that.
That's got to be concerning to Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson. I mean, that's just a terrible way to start the year off.
If you just look at his 4 restrictor plate races last year, 42nd in the Daytona 500, you see it there. 35th at Talladega in the spring, had an engine failure. 36th here, caught up in a wreck in July. And even though he finished 17th in the fall Talladega race, the car was destroyed over in turn 4, coming to the checkered flag.
And the turnaround that you just saw in those finishes comes after Jimmy had 4 top 5s, including a win in his first 5 starts in this race.
I believe I would start this race on Sunday, and my goal would be to get to the finish one way or another.
And I think he'll tell you that pretty much, and to be able to roll it in the hauler after the race.
Some point in time when the numbers like that, you got to say, hey man, enough's enough.
Travis Kvapil and Josh Wise drafting along out on track. Let's get back to the garage and Krista.
Mike, another driver done for the day is Eric Almirola. And the good thing for you guys, we were just talking, you didn't really feel like you needed to get in the draft because you had such a good car in the Sprint Unlimited. So did you learn what you needed to?
Yeah, we did. You know, our Smithfield Ford Fusion was pretty good Saturday night. And we took some of the things we learned from that and put it in this car before we went out there today. And we got in a little bit of a small pack. I think it was 7 or 8 cars. And I got up through there and led some of it. And I felt good about how much speed our car had. It seemed like it was pretty fast out front, too. So we worked on some single car stuff, and we found a little bit of speed there, too. And we figured if we found some speed by ourselves, it would correlate to the draft, too. So we took it easy and played it a little safe. And I feel like we got a really fast Smithfield Ford Fusion.
How much will the weather play a factor? I mean, obviously Saturday night it was cold. Today a little bit better, but we still haven't seen heat like we're going to see on Sunday.
It's going to play a factor, you know. I mean, everything from the handling to how much tape you can run, and the tape we run on the front of the cars affects the handling too. So we got to keep that in mind. You know, it's 60 something or right at 70 degrees today, and I think it's supposed to be closer to 80 tomorrow and even on Sunday. So that's going to play a factor, and we're thinking about that, and that's some of the stuff we're messing around with there in practice.
Thanks, Eric.
Yep, thanks.
Thanks, Krista. Tomorrow, the Budweiser Duel can be seen only on Speed, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, live tomorrow from Daytona.
Daryl, I know we always used to look at what seems to maybe be the easier dual race, but I tended to like to see my guy in that second one because we were able to watch the first one and kind of get a feel for what the track had in it, what tires were doing, things of that nature.
No, it is. It's 150 miles of watching other people and see what they do when they pit, what they do when they do pit. I mean, you know, there's a chance you could just come fuel up, no tires, get track position, that'd win you a race. Yeah, so there's a lot to be learned. Plus, you might know when that race is over with what you got to do in your race. And you may be locked in already and you don't have to worry about it.
Well, I remember 1992, you know, we obviously could run whatever spoiler angle we wanted to run. And I was with Davey Allison this year. We won the 500. They used to line the second dual race up on the road course out in the infield. And we were in the second race. In the first race, drivers were sideways loose. And I kept trying to call Davey because we were about 5 laps from that race ending. And finally, one of the crew members said he's out of the car taking his foot, kicking the spoiler up.
That's right. Yeah, we used to do that all the time, yeah.
Well, what usually happens, and last year is a good example, if the first race is a real dust-up and you have a bunch of crashes, the second race is very conservative. Last year we had 3 cautions in the first race, none in the second race. If the first race runs smoothly, then everybody in the second race pulls out all the stops and lets it fly.
See, Ryan Newman in the 39, his crew talked about maybe trying to get him out there. We've got about, about 40 minutes to go, and so they're going to run it through inspection like Daryl talked about.
Yeah, you know, Larry, I like those hubcaps on there. I'd like to lobby maybe to be able to run a set of hubcaps.
Especially if they were chrome, right?
With a spinner on them.
Makes them look like Matchbox cars. Come on. Steve Burns.
Cool looking.
Well, Mike, we've documented a lot of teams that are done for this practice session, done for the day, and some that didn't even leave the barn, but Jimmy Johnson not one of those. They're thrashing pretty hard. He is headed back out onto the racetrack. Looked like they changed a right front shock, and one mechanic was hard at work underneath the race car towards the rear of the car, so they're still hard at work here with the 48.
And Larry, you would think after testing and all the laps that have been run and everything that has been done that you'd kind of have that spring, shock, sway bar, you kind of have all that kind of tuned in or dialed in by now.
You would think.
Uh-oh. Here we go. The engine amazes me. It's just sitting there with that same hum all the time. Gets up to 8,000, it goes into another orbit. He cleans right out, starts singing a song, baby.
Kind of a one-note wonder, isn't it?
No, I don't go there.
I like it.
Yeah, I do too. It's beautiful.
Mark Martin's car is still under repair from that crash in the first practice session this afternoon.
The Asphalt Gladiators return to racing's biggest arena for a full-throttle fight to the finish.
Hard into the wall!
The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series from Daytona. Friday at 7 Eastern, live on Speed.
For more than 60 years, Wrangler's been making jeans more comfortable. Wrangler jeans give you comfort where you want it. They don't cut and bind like most jeans. U-shape. It fits around you. It gives you more room where you need it. Wrangler. Real, comfortable jeans.
Am I dreaming?
You're in Oz. Your magic is the only thing strong enough to save us all. Waiting for.
Rated PG in theaters and IMAX 3D.
best thing about this bar, it's not a candy bar. 130 calories, 7 grams of protein. The new Fiber One Caramel Nut Protein Bar.
When they first started talking about their plans to make our Camrys look just like the production car, but only with a little bit more flair, I was very happy.
One thing I hope that the fans appreciate on the 2013 Camry Cup car is the attention to detail. Side view, front view, and even rear view.
First impressions, double thumbs up. The styling in the doors, the creases in the sides, the shoulders on the quarter panels, you can tell straight away that it's a Camry.
They've finally got back to a good blend of both. The nose contours and characteristics are awesome.
You'll notice it has a really interesting twisting surface that starts from the back of the front wheel and works all the way to the rear end.
The back fenders up high in the back and flat. They're just sexy looking. I mean, they're fun to look at.
We'll have better racing, and I also think the fans are going to like the way they look. I know I do.
Welcome back to Sprint Cup practice presented by Toyota. Casey Kane, Greg Biffle, Jeff Gordon, Danica Patrick, Carl Edwards are the Fast Five after 55 minutes of this practice session. Let's get down to Chris Devoto for a Toyota news update.
Well, Mike, we've talked about the 39. We've talked to Carl Edwards of the 99. The other car involved in that first practice incident was the 55 of Mark Martin. And for this team, the only thing they got to eat for lunch was Bondo. You see, this is what they have been doing ever since that first practice. The crew has been feverishly working on this car. Rodney Childers, the crew chief, said they had to replace a left side door, the left front fender, and the nose. You see car chief Steve Channing, he's a body guy. He grew up in a body shop, so when it comes to Bondo and Bondo dust, well, he's right at home. But this is, of course, not what they would like to be doing. You see, it's a mess down here at the 55 hauler. They're just trying to get this thing ready to go for tomorrow's duel.
And Krista and Larry, Mike, when I watch this, it reminds me of the back in the day. See, we used to be able to fix cars at the racetrack because we too had to get parts from the manufacturer to put fenders, hoods, bumpers. And so when you wrecked the car, you could get those parts and fix your car. Then the cars got really all twisted up, and it took fabricators to fix them. You couldn't repair a car at the track anymore. You had to take it back to the shop. So now with the way these cars are being put together now this year with this new body, you get the panel from the manufacturer. It has a seam, it has a place, it has a way it has to fit on that car. So you can fix a car at the track again. And Larry, one other thing while we're talking about it, remember we used to sand the noses down after practice, particularly after the duels? Sand that nose down because we didn't have wrap like they have now. We had paint. We'd sand that nose down Friday morning or Saturday morning or whenever, Sunday morning when everybody got here, repaint that nose so that car looked brand new when it rode on the line.
Yeah, because it wouldn't have a bit of paint after the dual race.
Right, all be sandblasted off or bumped off. Here is why that car is under repair. You see Mark on the bottom behind Carl Edwards as Ryan Newman's car gets loose and comes across Edwards. Now, it doesn't look like Mark Martin has much damage, but right there, he got against Edwards, and it made enough of a mess on his number 55 that they are hard at work. Mark almost missed the whole thing. Not quite.
Well, this is a lot better than what he went through on Friday in practice. Lost a race car in the practice crash and then tore another car up lap 15 of the Sprint Unlimited. This is a little lighter than those other two crashes.
That's the best crash Mark has had so far.
You know, folks have asked as cars are in the inspection line being checked over. You know, the Chevrolet SS, the street version, wasn't even introduced until just during practice the other day. It used to be that a manufacturer had to make 500 or more copies of their street car before their car could be approved to race in NASCAR. You had to have a minimum build of 500 cars. Mike Helton, the president of NASCAR, and I talked about this the other day, and he explained back then the race car had to look like and meet templates designed off the street car. We had to make sure there are enough street cars out there to get accurate templates so we could tell that the race car was right. This 6th generation of NASCAR race car is different. Chevrolet, Toyota, and Ford all built their cars to a standard and to standard aerodynamic measurements where they were important. This car is not built to the street car. It's built to a standard, and that's why we don't have to have so many street cars out there right away.
It's the most anticipated Daytona 500 ever. Get on the inside track with the experts who have lived it.
When you win the Daytona 500, it stays with you the rest of your life.
NASCAR Race Day fueled by Sunoco. Sunday at 9 Eastern. Live on Speed.
Let's go places. Not just the ones you can find on a map, but the ones you can find in your heart. Because inspiration doesn't favor those who sit still. It dances with the daring and rewards the courageous with ideas. Ideas that inspire. Ideas that take you places you never imagined. Ideas big enough to make the heart skip a beat. And in some cases, maybe two. Toyota, let's go places.
That's me last year. Why is this so hard? Doing my taxes the old way. Blaming my pencil, calling my dad. I'm just trying to figure out my taxes. Cursing my calculator. If you could give me a call back when you get this, I'm so frustrated. And this is me this year. Thanks to TaxSlayer.com, I hit e-file and I'm done. It's quick, it's easy, and it's only $9.95. Oh, and did I mention I'm done?
TaxSlayer.com, just $9.95 for your federal return.
Done.
That's nice. Hello there.
Saturday, more live Supercross action right here on Speed. You know it's going to get heated as the world's greatest riders take flight in Hotlanta. Live coverage begins Saturday, 7:30 Eastern, right here on Speed. Brad Keselowski not among the top 10 practice speeds right now. He's down in 24th place.
But I think we've observed him making a lot of single car runs, so you're obviously not going to be as fast. The same with Jimmy Johnson, who's just a little bit in front of him, 23rd quickest in this practice session.
When you have a car, what you rely on when you're Brad the champion or Jimmy a champion, what the team relies on, they rely on them. If the car's not as fast as some of the other cars, that's when you rely on all your other resources. It's when you rely on your driver to make up some of the difference. It's when you rely on your pit crew. It's when you rely on the crew chief to have a better strategy. There's all kind of ways to take a car that's maybe not the fastest car here and compete very well and possibly even win.
Car doesn't waste any time getting up to speed, does it?
Not at all. No, you know, it's still probably close to a full lap before it really gets up to speed. Of course, we see that in qualifying where the second lap you pick up quite a bit from lap one.
Well, we saw, I noticed last time out Brad was 8,300. Now, Dale Jr. was 8,400 around the front straightaway here. Let's see if he can get there. Looks like he may. He's 83 now. Just flirting with 84. That's the same RPM that Junior was going into one. Junior didn't drop off hardly any through the turns. He stayed right around 83, 8,400. Looks like Brad's right there. Off a little bit right there, coming up off the corner. That's 200 RPM. That Junior didn't drop off quite that much. Junior was 84 down the back with a headwind, a little bit of a headwind. So this car is not quite as fast by itself as Dale Jr.'s is.
Looks like with about 30 minutes to go, we've had 25 of our 45 drivers that'll race tomorrow go out and partake in this practice session.
And let's ride with Junior now, and let's watch his RPM. And coming off turn 4, see 83, which is getting there a lot quicker. See, Brad was almost all the way to 1 before he got to 84. And I believe there's just a little bit of a help coming down the front here with a slight tailwind. 192 going into turn 1. Still hanging on 84, 83. Brad was 82 off turn 2. Junior stays 83, so this car's just got a little wee bit more speed than what Brad Keselowski's car has.
Our Toyota track description shows that it's 31 degrees in the east and west banking, 18 in the tri-oval, and that front stretch, counting the tri-oval area, 3,800 feet. Steve Burns with Mr. Lonely.
And that would be Jimmy Johnson. And Jimmy, a lot of guys chose not to do much today, if anything, but you guys look like you were working pretty hard.
You know, it's hard to not practice when the track's open. So this morning we didn't feel like we'd have a lot to really work through. But you know, we got into a few things and led to some other ideas. We kept making changes to the car, and I think we made it faster, at least by itself. Hopefully it'll draft and be comfortable, you know, the way it sits. But I thought we found a few little things that sped the car up, so that's good.
You know, one thing I've overlooked in Sunday when you take the green flag, career start number 400. That's not possible, is it?
I know, time's been going by fast, and you know, proud fact of those 400 starts is that Lowe's has been on the race car for all 400 starts. I'm very excited to, you know, hopefully we got 400 more together. We're excited to have the 400 start at Daytona this week, and hopefully we can finish one. It's been a while since we finished a plate race, so that'd be a good goal for the weekend.
All right, best of luck. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thanks.
You know, in those starts, of course, the 60 wins, 29 poles, but the number that's somewhat staggering, 11 seasons, he's led 13,856 laps of competition.
Tonight on NASCAR Race Hub, we break down Daytona 500 practice. We saw cars collide and Dale Jr. blow an engine. Mike Joy and Darrell Waltrip will recap, and Steve Burns is also at the beach. We'll see you at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Here we go.
Napa know-how?
Helps you do the job right. Try it.
Make sure factory timing marks line up correctly.
Okay.
And inspect the cam and crank seals.
But what if I have a really big project?
Frank, need the know-it-all.
I know axles, radiators, brake systems, starters, come on! Compressors, electrical systems, bring it!
Thanks, Frank. You know we have keychains, too.
Oh.
Hello. Stupid, slow, dirty PC.
You know, you really should clean it up and speed it up at mycleanpc.com.
Is your computer running slow? What if you could fix it while you were online? Now you can. Just go to mycleanpc.com for your free diagnosis today. Then just activate the mycleanpc.com software to fix it in minutes. And computer specialists are available while you're online. Get rid of pop-ups and junk files. Boost your PC startup time. Even prevent annoying errors, screen freezes, and crashes.
The best thing about mycleanpc.com was it had a free diagnosis.
You know immediately what the problem is, and the problem is solved right then and there.
My computer is 100% faster. My Clean PC works.
Download your free diagnosis today at mycleanpc.com. That's mycleanpc.com.
Love that new car smell.
NASCAR Sprint Cup practice presented by Toyota. It's not so busy out on the racetrack. It is, however, a busy day on Twitter. I am wondering why Miss Sprint Cup tweeted, "See, at Steve Burns 12 is more than just a pretty face."
I know what was going on. He was down there making notes in the garage area. I caught a glimpse of that.
Copious notes.
Working hard.
Jeff Burton in the Caterpillar Chevy. 16th on the board. 25 of the 45 cars entered in tomorrow's Budweiser Duel have practiced so far. And Burton, the quickest of the RCR Chevrolets who've been on the track. Yeah, let's see. Yep, he's the only RCR Chevrolet who's been on the track in this session.
See a little bit of bounce in Jeff Burton's step right now. He's got his crew chief back that he had at the end of 2011, Luke Lambert. Luke was in that championship battle with Elliott Sadler in the Nationwide Series, and I kind of question why they moved Luke away from him at the beginning of 2012. But Luke Lambert's back with Jeff Burton to start this 13th season.
Well, I think if you look at RCR overall, I mean, they put such an incredible amount of effort into their Nationwide program. And so I guess they thought that Elliott and Luke together would be a winning combination, and it was, and they almost pulled off a championship.
And Jeff Burton has an enviable streak going. He has more consecutive top 10s in restrictor plate races than anyone else in the 500. He's been top 10 the last 5 in a row.
His only 2 top 5 finishes of 2012, the 2 races here, February and July.
You know why? He's a savvy race car driver. Yeah. He's a thinking guy, and he doesn't put himself in position to get knocked out. A lot of these guys, they end up in a place where they wish they could get out of, but they don't know how. Jeff never puts himself in that position.
The car atop the Harley Earl Trophy is the Firebird 1. It was a GM styling exercise intended as a jet-powered land speed record car. The emblem on the tail was used later by GM as the emblem of their corporate airplane fleet. And Harley Earl, the great chief stylist at General Motors, all those great dream cars that occasionally cross the block at Barrett-Jackson, he was quite a leader in his field and a great friend of Big Bill France.
Yeah, Bill France, Big Bill. Well, Bill Jr. as well. They have such great friends, and they were all racers. They loved racing.
And a great article in today's local paper about Bill France Sr.'s friendship with Air Force General Curtis LeMay that led to sports car races being held on Air Force airfields as kind of a morale builder in the early 1950s, and the tradition of flyovers, which we've gotten accustomed to seeing at just about every Sprint Cup race. Let's take you through the 25 drivers who've been on track in this session. Ford and Chevrolet pretty much dominate the 10 fastest speeds. Positions 11 through 20, including a lot of drivers who need to race well tomorrow to be sure they're in the Daytona 500. They don't have car owner provisionals or fast qualifying speeds to fall back on.
See, Travis Quapple, he's run more laps than anyone, 30 laps in this session.
And the fellows who drove laps around by themselves, Jimmy Johnson, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano at the back of that group. 1 hour, 11 minutes into this practice.
While everyone else seems headed in the wrong direction, Ford is not just going forward, it's going further. Introducing the entirely new Ford Fusion, the most fuel-efficient mid-size hybrid sedan in America. It's an entirely new idea of what a car can be.
I hate that cable only lets us record 2 shows at once.
Me too. Cable's worse than...
Not being able to record all our shows at once is more annoying than...
We need to upgrade to DirecTV and get the new Genie. She lets you record 5 shows at once.
I want DirecTV more than...
Record 5 shows at once with the new DirecTV Genie. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
This is the age of knowing what you're made of. Why let erectile dysfunction get in your way? Talk to your doctor about Viagra. Ask if your heart is healthy enough for sex. Do not take Viagra if you take nitrates for chest pain. It may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Side effects include headache, flushing, upset stomach, and abnormal vision. To avoid long-term injury, seek immediate medical help for an erection lasting more than 4 hours. Stop taking Viagra and call your doctor right away if you experience a sudden decrease or loss in vision or hearing. This is the age of taking action. Viagra. Talk to your doctor.
In the nation, people are remembering driver's ed. They're looking left, then right, then left again. They're not texting or tweeting, no sir. They're braking for squirrels, and then some. And their deductibles are disappearing. Because nationwide insurance members who add Vanishing Deductible get $100 off for every year of safe driving. We put members first, because we don't have shareholders. Join the nation that hangs up and drives.
Nationwide is on your side.
Sunday, NASCAR on Fox returns for the 55th running of the Great American Race, the Sprint Cup Series debut of the all-new Chevrolets, Fords, and Toyotas that are putting the stock back in stock car racing. The Daytona 500 Sunday at noon Eastern, only on Fox. Now, the front row for the Daytona 500 is set, provided they have no problems in their dual race tomorrow. We also know that based on qualifying speeds, these 4 drivers, if they don't race into the 500 tomorrow, will have positions in the starting lineup. And we also know from car owner provisionals, and that includes Ricky Stenhouse, because it's the car that qualifies for that provisional, the owner from 2012. They'll be in the Daytona 500, plus the most recent past champion, which is Kurt Busch, if he's unable to race his way in or depend on his time, or the number 78's car owner points from last year. Those drivers will definitely be in the Daytona 500. We also know 2 drivers will go home from this 45-car field. And the long odds are of making the field are on Brian Keselowski, who's had trouble getting up to speed in these practice days, and otherwise Mike Bliss was the other driver who was a little bit off the pace in practice and will have to race their way in.
Well, you know, I remember being down here, what was it, a year ago or 2 years ago, and we said, well, Brian Keselowski has no chance of getting into Daytona 500. And how did he get in?
Raced his way in.
With help from?
With an assist. His brother, who's in the same race, this was what, 2011, Brad's in the same race with Brian, and he could go back there and pick him up and push him up there where he needs to be.
He could, Darrell. I think the difference this year is in what we've seen so far. When that happened, Brian Keselowski's car was perhaps 3/4 of a second to a second off pace in practice. And this year he's having trouble getting up to speed. If he gets up to speed, it could certainly happen.
Yeah, well, I know what you're saying, Mike, but even when he qualified, remember they couldn't get it to crank. Carl Edwards went over and helped him get it cranked up. And when he went out to make his qualifying run, he didn't even get up to speed on his first lap. So I don't know that his qualifying speed is indicative of how fast that car will run. And I got a feeling that people have been helping those guys with that car, trying to get it up to speed. So we'll see.
And he didn't just get help in that qualifying race in 2011. Brian Keselowski finished 5th in his duel.
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, Brad pushed him right up through there, man, right to the front.
Yeah, that chassis that they're running here, they bought from Penske, and about 2 weeks ago, it had no body on it whatsoever. Brian told me they pretty much worked night and day. Dad Bob right in the mix of it to get it down here.
Bob's the crew chief.
Boy, it'd be a Cinderella story if he makes the Daytona 500 this year, wouldn't it?
Thursday, NASCAR's biggest stars return to the World Center of Racing, where the fight to make the 500 is on. The Budweiser Duel at Daytona, Thursday, live at 2 Eastern, only on Speed.
The machine showed me a map of my feet, and it gave me my custom number.
My arches needed more support until I got my number at the free Dr. Scholl's Foot Mapping Center. I'm a believer, and you will be too.
Learn where to find your number at drscholls.com.
The best thing about this bar, it's not a candy bar. 130 calories, 7 grams of protein. The new Fiber One Caramel Nut Protein Bar.
Welcome to Cook It Safe Challenge, where teams compete to make the right decision about safe food preparation. Our challenge in this round, oven or microwave. To win, teams must use the proper steps for safe meal preparation, read and follow package cooking instructions, and know when to use the conventional oven or the microwave. You're on the clock, so make your decisions quickly, but be warned, make the wrong choice and your meal will be unsafe. Sorry, Team 2, an unwise choice. Check the cooking instructions on that package you ripped open so quickly.
Dude, what?
Microwaves and conventional ovens both have a purpose. Your challenge was to cook the dish safely. This means knowing which method of cooking to use, and you failed.
We failed to read and follow the package cooking instructions and use a conventional oven.
If you don't follow cooking instructions, some foods may be hot but may not have reached a safe internal temperature. Use a food thermometer to be sure.
We kept focus on reading and following the package cooking instructions.
And we used a conventional oven and a food thermometer.
Can you cook it safe?
Speed's presentation of Sprint Cup final practice from Daytona is presented by Toyota. Let's go places. And brought to you by Sonic. The all-new foot-long lineup from Sonic is here. Get one with tots for just $3.99. Tomorrow, NASCAR's biggest stars square off in the Budweiser Duel at Daytona, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We will set the starting field for the 55th Daytona 500. Back to the garage, Chris Devoto.
Marcus Ambrose was able to put up a pretty quick lap, 7th on the board. You were talking to a Hall of Famer there, Ken Squire, a little bit, so I didn't want to interrupt, but you guys look like you were having a fun conversation.
Look, I'm just a huge racing buff. I love vintage racing. Not that Ken Squires is vintage, but he was there when they were racing vintage, right? So I had a real thrill to meet him and talk to him a little bit. I'm going to find him again before the weekend's done and get some more juicy stories off him because, you know, I'm just a big racing buff. You know, I like the old-style race cars and old racing, both European and US. And if there's someone who knows all about that, it'd be Ken Squires.
Absolutely. You mentioned juicy stories. So what's the juicy story with this practice session? Did you learn everything you need to for tomorrow's duel?
No, we haven't learned enough, but we're kind of too scared to go back out there. You know, there's been a lot of incidents, and we don't want to be part of that. We've got a pretty good car. We feel like the duel for us is just another test, and so we'll, you know, we just limited our track exposure today to make sure we didn't damage our car.
Thank you, Marcus. Really appreciate it. Behind Marcus, you see the number 39 rolling back out onto the track as well. They're finally able to get back out there in this session.
Thanks, Kristen. You just saw the Keselowski brothers together. We were talking about the possibility of them drafting together. They're about to practice together. That is older brother Brian, who finished 41st in the 500 after finishing 5th in his Budweiser duel. And he's quickly getting up to speed while Brad works his way around the apron down in turn number 1. And now Ryan Newman comes out.
Yeah, Brad Keselowski in the 2, they're just working on all types of things. He ran the apron all the way through 1 and 2, almost like you have to do, I think, when you make a green flag pit stop.
And here's Ryan Newman. You can see the damage repair to the left side flank of his Quicken Loans Chevrolet. Unpainted sheet metal from the middle of the door back to the middle of the wheel well.
Best I can tell, that was about a 3.5-hour repair. So not a bad job by that group right there, because that happened about, what, 10-15 minutes into that first practice. It started at 12 noon local time.
Yeah, I think the thing that would worried me, and they took it through the laser machine, and so I'm sure they're confident with what they have, but that thing came down off that banking car and kind of bottomed out when it hit the apron, and it didn't tweak.
To the rear. Yeah, and a lot of the damage to that car was in the left rear area, down by the extra valence extension.
And it hit the nose hit the ground pretty hard there when it came down off the banking. So what did Ryan say there?
Something to the rear.
Something. Yeah. Sounded like he said it's towed out in the rear.
2 rounds in the rear is what he's asking for, apparently.
I'd say she's a little loose, if that's what he wants.
Yeah, but at Daytona, 2 rounds to the rear with the brake bias?
No, I'm thinking he's wedge.
What it's got to be, yeah.
I'm thinking there's a couple of rounds of wedge in it.
Well, it was him being loose that got us into this situation. Yeah. He got loose in front of Carl Edwards, up above Carl Edwards, and that's how the crash occurred.
I don't think he hadn't had a chance to check out it. He might want 2 rounds of the rear when he comes down pit road, but I think right now he's just talking about the car a little free.
Okay.
That's pretty major repair that those guys did in that amount of time. Now, they still have a lot of work to do because you can see it's pretty much just raw sheet metal there on the front side of that left 3/4 panel, but a nice job by that group. And if nothing else, they'll know pretty much what they've got and that nothing's amiss here.
Yeah, but the beautiful thing is that panel that they put on there, it came that way. They didn't have to make it that way. They didn't take a piece of sheet metal and pound it into that shape. It was already molded and ready to go right on the car.
And we wondered, Darrell, when NASCAR introduced the COT, which we now know as Generation 5, how long it would be before someone started stamping these panels out of steel instead of having to fabricate them. And with the Generation 6 program, that is part of the program, that these panels come pre-made.
Yeah, I think that's where NASCAR and the manufacturers and the car owners all said, look, how can we make this thing better? What can we do to help you? Well, one thing you could do is, you know, if we had these body panels made at the factory and they shipped them to us, we could build the cars quicker, probably take a little less than man hours too.